Hey everyone, I'm Travis Wright, and you're listening to I'm a Fan Of, your show for music, comedy, and more. As always, if you are a musician, a comedian, or just someone that does something interesting, please reach out to me on Instagram at TravisCanListen. You can find me on Facebook at I'm a Fan Of, or you can reach out to me through the website at I'mAFanOfPod.com. Of course, if you just enjoy the show, please follow me there as well, and like and subscribe to the podcast. This episode, we have a hilarious comic, Angela Owen. She's somebody I've wanted to have on the show for a very long time. It took me a while because I wanted to refresh myself with her material, her live stand-up material. I got to watch her a long time ago before the pandemic, and then I just couldn't, between the pandemic and then me watching shows now, it was so hard to sync up my schedule whenever one of her shows were in an area that I could get to. And I finally got out to watch her again, and she's as funny as ever and just getting funnier. You'll see in the interview, there's a confidence to her that is just endearing. I really love watching her take the stage and just command the room, but not in a way that's negative towards her audience. And I think a lot of her joke telling has that same confidence where you just feel like, all right, she's in control. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's have a good time. And she's been doing it for a while, but she's still, relatively in the beginning stages in terms of comedy. I mean, it's one of those professions where it feels like you can do it for 10 years and you're still at the beginning. And we kind of talk about that. But I think she's evolving and growing in a way that's very exciting. And I would love for you to meet her on the show. That's why I invited her in. So please, let's get to the interview. This is Angela Owen. The I'm a Fan Of podcast, music, comedy, and more. Welcome to the show, Angela Owen, as you were pouring me a glass of wine. Can I say, since I've had a kid, I used to drink on this show a lot.
See if you like it, and I'll give you the rest.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to like it. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Since
not a picky man.
No. Since we had a kid, I have not drank on the podcast because I was always worried about drinking too much, but we're definitely going to do this.
I turned you into an old woman podcast now.
But real quick, to explain how this is your friend who's going to start something up.
Yeah. Okay, so my friend from childhood, we've been friends since birth. Our parents were good friends, right? My friend Stephanie, we grew up together, and she went off and became an attorney and did all the things and adopted children. She did crazy, outlandish, all these things. Great success in person, she's very successful. And for her second career, she's decided to open a vineyard. And when she was little, well, she's a very thin woman. She's a very, very thin woman. And when she was little, we didn't grow up real rich. And so some of our houses leaned a little bit. And so she had a pool table in her, what was the dining room, I think, of their house. And it leaned just a little bit. And so sometimes balls would get stuck. And she was so thin that she could put her arm in like a snake and get the ball.
Yeah.
And so we always called her Snake.
Okay.
And so her vineyard is going to be called Smiling Snake Vineyards.
And you said it's out in East Texas?
Outside of Van. She just bought 5 acres. She'll be planting her first grapes in April.
Man, that's awesome.
Anyway.
How long does it take for grapes to, how long until she can make more?
Oh, man, I have no idea. I mean, I'm just trying to get her to get a stage so I can do comedy out there. I don't know. But she does not fail. That's
awesome.
what I do know. She doesn't fail.
Well, cheers to her. Thank you so much for bringing this.
You are welcome. And she made this for me for my birthday.
It's the worst wine I've ever had.
That is not true.
No, it's great.
That is not true. That is not true.
My wife, she
it's a Shiraz, so it's a little sweet, yeah.
My wife, she loves and hates, whenever I hear stories like that, I love finding out people just I wanted to do this, I'm going to do it. Because you really have nothing to lose.
Right. And
So
exactly.
it's okay, worst case scenario, you make a bad batch of wine and you're like, well, never going to be a winemaker.
Well, I just think that, it's kind of, we're the same age, Stephanie and I. Mm-hmm. There kind of comes a moment in your life where you just kind of go, I'm just going to invest in a thought I have. Mm-hmm. I'm going to invest in a feeling I have. I'm going to invest in me for a second, especially as for women, I think. It just came, and that's what she's doing. And I just think it's so wonderful because she's tried to stay up with law and keep doing it. And when they moved back from Louisiana here, she got her license again in Texas, all the things. But she was tired of law. She was tired of law. And so and she really wanted something where she could drink at work. And she's not funny, so she can't be a comic.
I got to talk to some guys who ran a brewery, a local one here called Peticolas, and they that was their number one thing. They're like, we get to drink. They're like, obviously you got to get the work done, but there's nobody telling you not to drink.
It's research.
It's
research. So
but that's similar to your journey. You've started comedy later as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn this. You're good.
Yeah, I'm okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
messing with it. Okay.
When did you start comedy? Because you talk about it on stage. You started later.
Yeah.
I won't say it exactly how you phrase it.
Yeah, don't. No, please. That's my joke. That's my joke. Don't take my joke.
I'm not going to take it.
I only have 3. Don't take any of them. Okay, so I started doing church comedy. Okay.
Come on. Church comedy?
Church comedy in my early 40s, like around 42.
Okay.
And I did church comedy until I was 51. And at 51, I took a class at Dallas Comedy Club. My daughter told me about it, and she said, "You're bored. Mm-hmm. You're killing me. Quit calling me. Find something to do."
Yeah.
And she said, "Take this class." I was like, "Okay." I took the class. Katie Evans taught me.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, she's
how
fantastic.
to write a joke. Yeah. And then the first time, that thing that you do, that you go on stage for the first time, and you just feel like that. Oh my God, that's what I'm supposed to do from the toes up. That's who I am. That is who I am.
So when you said you did church comedy, then explain that, because you make it sound like you were doing something different than stand up.
Well, I was doing skits. I was skit writing, and I was doing one woman shows. That that kind of women of faith kind of stuff. Not on that large of a level.
I've never been a churchgoer. So
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like women retreating. And like you would do. For women's groups, they would pay you to come and be funny for a minute, but you can't be too funny because too funny might get raunchy, and you can't be raunchy. So tell us something that we can bear to hear.
Yeah.
And try to make us laugh. So I was the Friday night entertainment.
How did you do in that environment? Because you seem like the type of personality that does not want to hold back. Like you would want to. Like I could imagine in those scenarios, you would be thinking of the grungier, dirtier punchline and just being like, Angela, just keep it to yourself. Because you said it was almost 10 years you did that?
Yeah. 9 years. Yeah. From 42 to 51.
Yeah. And so were you just always kind of biting your tongue through it, or was it were you not even thinking about it that way?
Okay, so my kids were younger then. Mm-hmm. And so we were doing the whole, force them to go to DARE and buy rings and don't have sex and be so good. And so we were very much in the mode at that age for me of still not even watching rated R movies at home.
Wow. Okay.
Like we were just like this real, because we were doing it for the kids. We were making this bubble in Rockwall, Texas for the kids, and we couldn't, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I wasn't saying grungy things on a regular.
Right.
But at 51, I'd been an empty nester for 10 years, 9 years, because my kids left at when I was 42, 43. They just left. No, one got married, one went to college. All the things. Anyway. So my mind really didn't go there. Now, I would say the worst thing in Christianese to them, because the bitches pissed me off. I'm not saying the bitches pissed
What's like
me
a
off.
bad thing you would say in Christianese? Give me an example.
Oh, that's where your things come in, like, oh, bless her heart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus loves us. He's a blessing. You're a blessing. You're a blessing. I mean, things like that. You would say these, that they're cutting. Yeah. They're cutting in Christianese.
I grew up in a nice small Texas town, so I know what you're talking about, where it's a nice big smile and it just is mean and mean and mean.
Have a blessed day.
Yeah. One of my favorite small town country woman sayings is the higher the hair, the closer to God. I love that one. I heard it the other day and I hadn't heard it in forever.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. That's funny. I don't, as I'm pulling my hair up, I got to make sure my hair's not, yeah, so I did that, and then when I did this this thing that I did in Deep Ellum, which, I mean, don't get me wrong.
This would have been at Dallas Comedy House at that time?
Dallas Comedy House, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd spent a fair amount of time in my teens and early 20s in Deep Ellum. Deep Ellum was the place I first dropped X. I know about Deep Ellum, but I didn't figure I'd end up there again at 51.
Yeah.
So, but I went, and it was... I've always loved writing. I really love writing. I've always written short stories and poems and songs, and I've liked to write down whatever. I like it to. I'm that person with a pad all the time, just writing stuff down. Actually, it's my phone now. But speaking of which, you know what? I didn't turn that sucker off. It may go off. Anyway,
don't worry about
sorry. But yeah, so I really liked the writing part of it, and I didn't know that I could do the performing part of it, and so I just. For the first 3 years, I just got up and said words that I had written down.
This was with Christian comedy?
No,
or
this was with club comedy.
Okay.
This is after 51.
Gotcha.
This is after 51. That Christian comedy, it was easy, it was light, it was breezy. I mean, what were they going to do? They weren't paying me much, so what were they going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just didn't say, damn shit, hell, fuck. I didn't say that. And but I think I always got a point across, at least in those days. But doing it for the first 3 years in the real world, I just got up and said words that I had written down. I couldn't sell them.
Yeah.
I couldn't sell the words.
Yeah.
They were good words. I think they were well-written words, but I couldn't sell them because I just wasn't comfortable on stage. I hadn't found my voice yet, they say.
It's so fascinating to me, though, that you compartmentalize them as these two very different things, like the before and after, almost like, BC and AD, right?
Yeah. It really is. It's before menopause and after menopause. That's exactly.
But still, even if you're just doing it on a like a church level, like you were saying, that's still performance. That's still. You would think that you wouldn't have had to think about it that hard when you switched to a new version, basically.
Well, it was just something unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge comedy fan. I loved. Some people on The Late Show. The first night I moved to Dallas when I was 19 years old, I went and saw Eddie Murphy.
Oh, wow.
That was the Raw tour, I guess, 1984, 1985. Anyway, and so that's really weird that's the first thing I did that night. We unpacked the U-Haul and we went to the Eddie Murphy. And this only comedy show I went to for probably the next 15, 20 years.
Wow.
I just wasn't a big fan other than female comedy. I loved, oh God, don't make me do this.
Do what?
Oh God. I'm not even going to tell you who I loved. I'm not even going to tell you. You don't even know who they are. It doesn't matter.
You're in here with your leg propped up. You might for your ACL injury, you might as well tell me who it is.
No, I loved Carol Burnett. I loved Lucy. I loved Joan Rivers. I loved Roseanne Barr.
I was just comparing another comic, her physical presence on stage to Lucille Ball. She's still very relevant.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that that's a wonderful compliment.
I thought it was. Have you heard of a woman named Steph Tolev?
I don't know her.
You might like her. She's it's almost like she blended a little bit of Chris Farley, but kind of a female version. And I hate saying it because it sounds like it's lesser, but just to kind of give you a sense of like that physical energy she brings. She's very willing to go for it physically.
Right.
And, that was Lucille Ball. It's like, how many of those skits was she doing something that a woman didn't typically do in that time period? Right. So it's hard to watch those shows now and not appreciate like that was extremely edgy.
Yeah.
What she was doing. Because now it's just so tame.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how Steph feels to me on stage in that sense of like the Lucille Ball. It's like, I don't think you would ever confuse the two for looks or behaviors, but it's more of like in a male-dominated comedy scene, she's kind of taken some edge, like some steps that female comics don't take right now.
See,
like how many of them go up there? Like, I feel like you have a couple different camps, and I could be wrong, but to my eye, it seems like there are female comics that are very good writers that are doing what they're supposed to be doing and performing and doing well, and then you got a couple branches that are trying to figure out how they want to be. So you get there's like shock female comic, right? And then there's
hot chick.
Hot chick's definitely one. That one's, I mean, on one hand it sucks because if you are hot and you're really funny, you can get lumped into that category as like, it's just another hot comic.
Yes.
But there's just so many bad ones that are relying on their looks and stupid guys laughing in the front row because they're hot and they think they're going to fuck them later.
Yeah. It's a real, it's not a problem I've ever had personally,
Don't give me that.
But that is, I hear it happens. But it is what I would call, if you have genres of female.
Am I way off on that?
No.
Okay.
If you have genres of female comedy, you have physical comics.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of them, I would say.
I think a lot of women are. Again, I'm speaking on behalf of women, so
please do. Please
sorry.
do. I'll let you know if you're wrong.
But it seems like Eliza Schlesinger was kind of talking about it, how the stronger of a woman you are, the stronger of a performer you are, the easier it is for people to just go, she's a bitch,
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of women might cower away from that, going like, well, I don't want people to think I'm just up here being a bitch. Like somebody was on this show, God, I wish I could remember who it was. And they were like, I have to really think about my set if I'm the only woman on the show, because then I'm representing the female comics. And people are going to think if I suck, that female comics suck.
Yeah, and that could have been anybody local that's been doing it more than 4 years, because I mean it's you are representative of all women.
Yeah,
because there's only room for one woman on any show.
I've noticed. I've noticed it's either an all-female show or the token female.
It's either all female produced by a female
or
the token female.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think
it doesn't appear to be conscious. It just appears to be the way it is.
It is the way it is. Yeah. And I think that makes it worse.
Yeah.
That it's not conscious at all. It's, but in a, okay, so say in Dallas Fort Worth, you would probably know better than I do even. In Dallas Fort Worth, if you have 1,000 comics, 796 of them are men.
Right.
And whatever's left are women. So there's not a lot of women. And if the women that are working comics, because there's women that are open micers, and there's people that are going to become working comics, and there's people that are somewhere in between, and then there's people that are also working in other states and national and all the things. And so there's all different kinds of levels. And if you split it up, and then you split it up into levels, then there are fewer women in each thing. Mm-hmm. So, I don't. I don't want to think it's on purpose.
Yeah, there might be like an asshole here and there.
Oh yeah, but that's we're used to them. We're fine with that. It's okay. We understand. But I don't think that it's across the board. Mm-hmm. I produce the State Fair of Texas show, Deep Fried Comedy. Look, what, you didn't read up on me?
I'm sorry.
I'm on your podcast,
I'm
man.
Sorry.
You just came and saw me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
No.
Now when I was 9 months into comedy, 9 months from taking the class, 9 months in, very much an open micer, I had an opportunity to get in with the State Fair of Texas and put on a comedy show. My husband works there. He gave me a phone number. I had to do everything from that point, but I had the opportunity, right? And I had another couple of women helping me make that opportunity happen. Nicole Bennett and Kim Wadsworth. They were in that with me. Anyway, and so that took off. And so I have that. And on that show, I understand that we need to represent, if there's 5 people in the show, I need to represent somebody in the audience, every person. So I'm going to have one woman. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have, a man, an older guy, a younger guy, a millennial, someone of color, black, brown, yellow, green, whatever it is. Because you're trying to be everything to everybody. And so I understand that. It's not mandated or anything, but it's just like I want someone on this show, this 1 hour show, to hit somebody in the audience.
Yeah.
And get them. And they get each other. And I want that to happen. And there's just so many people to choose from.
Yeah.
The talent is just Dallas,
Dallas, there's a lot. And then I think there's a lot just in Dallas, and then you forget we have Dallas, Fort Worth. We have all the surrounding suburbs. Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm going to turn this fan up a little bit. I'm warm for some reason.
Okay. It's the wine, sorry.
Maybe. Okay. What were we saying?
It's the suburbs. We have lots of areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially, the more clubs we get, with Plano, and we got McKinney, and we got,
Yeah.
Build it and they will come. Put a comedy club in and see how many comedians come out of the woodwork.
Man, have you noticed that I do an April Fool's joke every year?
Yes. I fell for it one time. I hate you, you asshole.
For those who don't know, every April Fool's I post that I'm opening up a comedy club, and it's funny because you
catch somebody.
Well, there's
time.
new people in the scene every year,
right?
And oh my God, the inbox gets flooded with I would love to do this, I would love to do that. If you have any room here. Yeah. And so you're right. Like if you make it, there are people hungry right now to do it.
There are people. What I found out was, I came in and, I really definitely could have been a flash in the pan. Midlife crisis thing going on. I definitely could. There's not a lot of people in my lane as far as my age group and all that kind of stuff. Okay, the few that are really good. But yeah, I definitely could have been someone that was in January and out by April, and that happens a lot.
Yeah. The
fact that I stuck around, and the fact that I learned the grind from watching grinders do this. You know what I mean? Just be all in. Right now, I can promise you I'm kind of lazy. I hurt my leg, and I haven't. Anyway, but I remember going to Hyenas on a Wednesday night, and
that's a rough open mic. By the way.
Going up at 12:30.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not so hard at 12:30 because no one's there.
Well, that's what I mean by it's rough. It's a big, vast, empty room because I live close to that.
Oh, okay.
Hyenas, and so I'll drop in on the Wednesdays that I can, and I love to see who's working there, and then hopefully 6 months later, maybe see them opening on a smaller show somewhere.
Right. I
love to see who's
the progression.
Yeah, because you want to see the people who are putting in the work and trying hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've watched enough now that I can listen to your shitty joke and go, they don't have it dialed in, but that's funny.
Yeah.
If they work on it, that's funny. There's something there.
Yeah, there's a premise there. There's something there.
And so you can tell who's, to use your words, like not going to be a flash in the pan if they just keep trying. It's like you've got the funny, you just need to mold it.
Yeah. Well, and some people come to the stage. I mean, like I know anything. I don't know anything. I mean, I'm like padding my 6 years in real comedy with 9 years of bullshit. Okay, so I don't know anything.
You say it's bullshit, but I would genuinely count that because it's performing. Like you're still trying to make people laugh.
It was a lot of writing.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of worming a way around things that people could not hear and stuff. It was a lot of that. So I think I've just got my love for writing kind of there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know anything, but I think that smart people stay with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Some people have it, and it doesn't matter. I mean, they can start with it and then learn how to write, and it doesn't matter. And then some people write amazing jokes, but they can't land them. They can't sell them. I think that's who I've been most of this part of the career. I just couldn't land them. I knew how to land them with the church ladies, but I couldn't land them with the... Anyway, so I wanted the words to be enough.
Yeah.
Just the words. I didn't want to have to, and everybody's like, you need more act outs. And I thought they meant I was going to have an accent or do a shovel or drive a... I didn't want to do any of that. I don't like that. I don't like any of that. And they just meant, sell it to me.
Gotcha.
Make me believe what you're saying.
Gotcha.
I mean, you've seen me a couple of times. I mean, early on and later.
Yep.
I mean, that's the only difference.
Yeah,
because I haven't written a new damn thing in 6 years. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, come on. No way.
I was
going to say, you definitely been writing. I was scrolling through your clips, though, on Instagram, just seeing the jokes that you have posted in addition to what I've seen and everything. And, I would say you've definitely found how you like to be on stage, like your voice on stage. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever watched you, I was trying to piece together. It's the first several times I saw you were all at weird, strange things. So, like, one was at the Plano Comedy Festival, but it was on, like, an outdoor stage at some bar.
Yeah.
It was not a great setting for comedy.
Right.
And the crowd, it was this weird, like, it was like a lawn chair situation or something. And all of the crowd was about 30 feet away from the stage.
I remember I was wearing white pants and a black top. I remember this like it was yesterday. And the person before me, who I do not know who it was at all, I cannot recall that, but they had lost them a little bit.
Yeah. It was a rough show all around because I think it was hot.
It was so hot.
And like, I think these people didn't know how to react to comedy outdoors at this place.
No.
Which is always more strange, But, and then I was trying to think where else. I've seen you probably 2 times between then. But I was trying to think, which open mics were you doing? Do you go to Fort Worth and do like Mana's shows or anything over there?
No, right now, and for the last,
this would have been probably, I can't remember. It was pre-pandemic because I had that DCC was the first time I got to see you since after the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the first time. Because it just, every time you had a show, it's like, it wasn't lining up with our schedule.
Wow.
So it's
I gotten better? Have I gotten any better? Oh,
I never
thought
you were,
I have.
I never thought you were bad. But I think you have found a comfort on stage. You know what I mean?
It feels like it.
Yeah, like I feel like you're not searching for how you want to deliver it.
Yeah.
That you know how you want to deliver it.
Yeah.
That was the biggest difference I saw.
Yeah. That's such good. That's such good telling. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'll remember that.
Yeah, it felt like
I wasn't searching, I just knew how to tell it. That's great.
Yeah, because you're already a very confident person. So I feel like you struggle to bring confidence to the stage. It was just more like, I know I want to deliver it this way now. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm the science in me wants to go, I've cut enough words. I've built up enough blah, blah, blah. My purpose is, because after I did DCC, I also took Dean Lewis's class.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Oh, wow.
I did a class, and then I did a private class with just me and Ruth Banks and him. It was great. And, I mean, like, the things I learned from Dean were just like, Oh, and it was kind of like things I kind of knew subconsciously about writing, but he was like, yes, this is important. Do this, do this, do this. And he always said, have an emotion word, have an emotion word. And then the last time we were together, he said, okay, even if you don't have an emotion word, have an emotion. Show me something on stage. And I was like, oh my God, I am a shell delivering words. Like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, so I don't have to say the word, but I have to show the word.
Yeah.
And that's when it was like, okay, this is kind of like doing skits. Because I had done characters and skits and things like that before. But in stand-up, I had really separated the two. I was like, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to say words. They're going to be written well. It's going to be a good premise. It's going to be funny to somebody. I know it is. Just now you do your part. Laugh.
It's so fascinating to think that you had to get out of your way like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That I love talking to different comics about kind of those little epiphanies, because it is so weird to think like, who am I? What is my voice? Because day to day, you don't think about what you sound like, who you are. But the moment there's a stage and a mic involved, you think, well, what am I supposed to sound like? Who am I supposed to talk like?
Well, well, and the good thing is about starting at 51 is that you already know who you are. Mm-hmm. You already know who you are. I had a good friend, a comic, Steve Herndon, really nice guy. Safi Herndon is his daughter. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Steve, and he told me, he said, when you can tell those jokes in this times 80, then you'll be good on stage. Because right now you're telling great jokes. They're good. They're good. I mean, yeah, they're well written. Yeah. They're good. They're blah, 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 And but you're going to have fun with it in a minute or you're not going to be very good at all. And I was like, okay. And he said, if you think you're doing a 5 on stage, you are doing a -5. Ramp it up a 15. Make it more. Make it more because the audience listens half as fast and they understand half as much because they have all this periphery. They have people next to them. They have all things going on and you. Mm-hmm. All you have is them, and they become a mass, and it's like they're not individuals anymore. It's this, they are the audience, and so it's like learning how to deliver it was everything.
Did you, coming in at 51, did you have like a chip on your shoulder about like, oh, I'm too old to start now or do this? Or because I say that because I just had Cody Swindell on the show who started at 30 or 31. And he was like,
Cody.
He was like, oh, I'm coming into the game so late.
Oh, shut up, Cody. Shut up, Cody. And, I love his second story joke.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's so funny.
But I was talking to him about how, there's like an audience for all of it. Like there's a silver lining to starting later because you do have a maturity about you, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, what was your experience though? Like, first of all, we haven't even talked about like, when did you say like for sure stand-up comedy? I want to do this.
I came off of the stage when we did our class.
Yeah, but
showcase.
What made you even want to take the class?
Well, my daughter told me about the class, and she knew that I loved to write, and she said, just it's a different form of writing. Just find yourself something to do because I found myself very bored with kind of my existence, and I was like, I had just gone through the change, and so that was all like, okay, it was crazy for 6 years, and now I'm sane again, and what? Now I'm bored. Okay, so she said, take this class. Mm-hmm. My daughter, Lacey. Anyway, so I took the class, and then when I did I liked the class. I liked the people in the class. I loved the teacher. I loved all of it. And then when we did our showcase, I did the thing, the 5 minutes, and I came off into the little green room there at what was Dallas Comedy House. Mm-hmm. And Katie Evans, who was my teacher, said, she goes, what'd you think? And I was like, oh my God. It was, and she goes, you're going to do this for the rest of your life. And I was like, I think you're right.
Explain that feeling.
You're right. It's doing the thing that makes you from your toes up. I mean, it's doing the thing. And until you've done the thing that is that thing, you don't know what the feeling is. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I mean, if you're supposed to be a surfer and you've never surfed yet, you don't know it yet. It was the perfect fit. And it didn't really even matter to me that it might not look like the perfect fit, or I really should be doing this other thing. Gardening should be my thing, or whatever. it was like, I just want to do this. Because I'm in a situation that I'm fortunate enough to where I can follow a dream. Because my husband makes enough money so I can follow a dream. So I can lose money, which, I mean, I was a hairdresser for 30 years. I mean, I've been losing money for a long time is what I'm saying. So anyway, I just decided that it was like, okay, I could lose money this way.
Yeah. Isn't it wild to think, though, like we were talking about it earlier, it's like take a chance and do the thing. Because I think a lot about like the talents people don't know they have, right?
Right.
Like if Michael Jordan had never picked up a basketball,
right?
It's like you wouldn't know you're missing out on anything. But you do wonder, it's like all these hidden talents that people might have, but they're just too afraid to try the thing for whatever reason, or it just doesn't even dawn on them. They don't have the daughter or somebody saying like, you should try this, you might like it.
Right. Well, and I mean, women in general, I mean, I'm Gen X. I'm first year of Gen X, and so I'm almost a boomer, but not, right? And so my generation would say women in general don't have options. If they have a family, young, they don't have options. I mean, the men who have a wife and children, when they're out at the mic at 12:30 on Wednesday, it's because the wife is watching the children. Now, what if the wife wanted to go? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I think we're coming to a point in society where it would be okay, but it's still, we're called to a different thing on that.
Right.
And so it was like, I couldn't have done this. The reason I started doing stand-up comedy in clubs when I turned 51 is because I didn't have a minute to do it before then. There wasn't a minute to do it before then.
Yeah.
I had to do church comedy because church comedy didn't mess up with the basketball games and the soccer games and the blah, blah, all the things. And so there's a lot of, I sound so bitter.
No. It's not bitter, but it's not bitter.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. And I'll say, like, we have a 3-year-old now, so we're just getting in on this level of, I mean, that was the biggest shell shock for us.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even, it's definitely what you described about, like, it's hard to plan anything now.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Right? And
your life is not your own.
No.
You have opted to share it with another being that knows nothing except selfishness.
And it's even our conversations. Like right now, I get very frustrated where it's like if we spend an entire Saturday together, the three of us, I know that I probably won't be able to have a real conversation with my wife unless it's during his nap time or when he goes down to sleep in the evening. Because while you're just talking and communicating, like driving in the car or at dinner or whatever, he's inevitably just shouting things out mid-conversation.
Wait a minute. You're a man who wants to have a real conversation with your wife? I'm confused already. I don't know.
I'm a
I don't
modern
know
man.
this guy. Are you a millennial? What are you?
Millennial, yeah.
Millennial.
I'm in the millennial generation.
Barely.
85, whatever that lands in.
Okay, barely, yeah.
But,
well, good for you.
Yeah, but no, that's been a very frustrating thing is you're like, we can't talk about anything because he's just going.
Right.
And it's cute and you love him and it's great, but it's his day. The whole day is his day.
Yeah.
And
the whole day is his day for the next 18 years.
I know.
All of them, all the days. This is why we used Dimetap when y'all were little. We used Dimetap when you were little. My kids are 33 and 35 now, okay? Dimetap. And it's called melatonin now. You just need to get some, okay? Because you're going to have to put the baby to bed in order to have any kind of life.
Yep.
Now, see, I was very fortunate. I was married once and then I had the kids by this guy, right? And then I married again. And so I had this guy as a babysitter.
Okay.
So me and this guy could go on dates.
Yeah.
That
worked out pretty well.
And it worked out pretty well because he wanted to see his kids and da-da-da. And
that is one of the upsides of divorce, right?
That and 2 Christmases,
2 Christmases.
I mean, my mom was generous. She gave me 4 dads.
Yeah.
I only gave my kids 2, but, that's real. That's true. That is so true.
Do you think if you had been able to work the schedule, you would have started sooner? Or do you still think it would have taken a little while to come around to like, I want to do this?
Well, I could have done it during the crazy years is when I was doing the Christian comedy because from 42 to 50, I lost my mind. And so I could do something that I could relate to from a very early foundation because I was raised in church and stuff like that. But I think that my comedy would have been very different had I started before menopause.
Now, when you say you lost your mind,
I lost my mind. I drank too much. I hung out too much. I wore skirts too short. I did all the things. I lost my mind.
were you married or divorced at this point?
Oh, married.
Married. What was making you want to do that?
I have no idea.
Really?
I was insane. It was just
You can't think of any stress or anything that was going on at the time?
No.
It's fascinating.
It's hormones. It's fucking hormones. I mean, I'm sorry. It's the change of life that everyone talks about.
Oh, so you mean that was the start of that?
That was that from 42 to 48.
So it's like you had another teenager thing with flooded with hormones going
on. It was just a dump of estrogen. It was just a dump of estrogen, and I was like, oh, college party girl. I was stupid. I was stupid for 6 years, and. And then finally it was over, and it was like, oh, fuck, what was that?
Came out off the hangover.
And my husband is such a great guy because he was just like, he just made sure I didn't go to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like, okay, I'm watching you. Okay, I got you. And it was just like, it was. I'm glad my kids were off to college and married by then because I lost my mind.
Did they know this was going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, you should ask
They
them.
know now.
Yeah. But you should ask them. It might be interesting to see if they had memories of it or not.
But they were having the college experience and the new married experience. They were in their own thing.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised what people just observe.
What peripheral goes around.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, so I think my comedy would have been very different.
You probably would have been too much at that point.
It would have been.
You know what I mean?
It would have been ugly 40-something-year-old woman trying to be hot chick comedy. It would have been ugh. I had to get to a point where any of this was okay. It was like all the plastic surgery's done. Any of this, it's okay. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because it just can't matter anymore. It's mattered too much for too long. It can't matter anymore. I'm done. I stopped coloring my hair in 2020, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I cannot. Now, I mean, Botox, I still, but the rest of it, I'm just,
I think Botox is just viewed as like vitamins now.
Well, I write it off. It's a write-off.
Yeah. It's a business expense, right?
Business expense,
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Isn't it crazy to think how much of a slave humans are to hormones? To just, that these little chemicals can just control you 100%.
You've had a pregnant wife.
Yeah, and she was beautiful and lovely, and everything was wonderful.
And then she wasn't.
Nope.
But it's okay. It's okay.
No, the whole time she was amazing.
She doesn't watch your show. She doesn't watch your show.
Genuinely, she's like, how was the interview? And I'm like, did you listen to it? And she's like, no.
And why would I? I hear your wife likes my comedy, so whatever.
She loves it. You know what, though? You threw her for a curveball. She was quiet about you for like... Man, I think it was like a day or two, and she was like, "You're gonna have her on the show, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "It's just that homewrecker comment," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she didn't hear the punchline of your joke that you wrecked your. I don't want to step all over.
Yeah, but the home between my husband and his mom.
Yeah. She thought you were up there just bragging about stealing this man away from another woman, and like wrecking a marriage and all this, and I was like. What? And she's like, I must have been laughing through that tag or something. I was like, that's funny. So for like maybe a day, 2 days, she was like, I don't know if you want that kind of person on the show. And I was like, listen, first of all, if we start judging comics too harshly, we're not going to have anyone on the show. So they've all got their own issues, okay?
And I don't want a guy with a 3-year-old, so we're good. We're good. Hell yeah.
But yeah, that made me laugh so
Well, that
hard.
has been, there are a few that used to be my opener.
Okay.
I used to always open with that. Don't open it with anyone because you really have to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, if you stand up and you look like me in some clubs and say, hello, my name's Angela, I'm a homewrecker. Not only do guys go, ugh! Women, I mean, and it's just they don't want to hear that. They don't want to see this and hear that. And I'm like, and to me, I'm a grandmother. I have 7 grandkids. Okay, 7 grandkids. To me, I'm looking at this and I'm going, come on, it's a joke, right? Because it's not what it's like a surprise. It's like, I mean, it's like Carrie Day getting up and saying he's a stripper. It's a surprise.
It's your delivery, though, because you have the ability to be so...
serious.
It's not serious though. It's not serious. There's like a commanding presence on stage, right?
Yeah.
So I
hope.
I think if you're using that as your opener,
it sets a tone.
Well, they haven't felt you out yet, so
No.
I don't think they've realized how you set up your jokes and your punches.
Well,
So,
and Dean Lewis told me, he said, don't have that one as your opener. Do something different. He said, work your way into that one. Give it a couple of jokes. And so that's what I've been doing.
yeah,
now.
I definitely think that the way you're playing into it now works better because it gives people a moment to acclimate to your style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at first,
Because I am direct.
well, in the first couple jokes, it's like, is this all joking? Is this her? What are we getting into here, right? And then as you go on, people are like, okay, I got it. And it doesn't take long, right?
I hope not.
No. It doesn't take long. But what I mean is if you're
But
doing
it's
that.
so great to hear somebody that's actually been in the audience because I don't get to talk.
Oh, yeah.
The audience members that I know are just going to kiss my ass. They don't care. They don't know and they don't care. It's just like, oh, yes, oh. You know, my friends and my loved ones, and they don't tell me this is information.
Well, but I like your style. I wouldn't change anything about it. I like the way you deliver it, but it's definitely, like Sarah Silverman, for instance. She had this one joke that I absolutely loved. I got to see it live where she pulled out an audience member and she was like, who's the biggest, and I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know exactly how she told it, but she's like, who here, loves Jesus Christ, loves them, and all that.
Were you at like the Starplex?
Yeah,
that's where I was. I saw her. I was
Okay.
there at the Hope Fest. That was great. Okay,
So
yes,
when
go
she
ahead.
pulled the guy out and was like, and he's like, I love Jesus, and she's like, would you let Jesus come in your mouth?
Yes.
And he's like, and he's just this good old boy. He's like, and
why am I here? And why did I get?
And she's like, I think at that point she was like sitting in his lap in the audience.
Yeah, it's like, why did I let Susie talk me into this?
And,
oh God!
And he's just like, I mean, if it's Jesus, I get, and she's like, good for you. That's your beliefs. This guy's sticking to his beliefs.
Oh my gosh!
But like, if that was her opener,
you can't do that.
If that wasn't
No.
20 minutes in,
No. That's not. You got to build
and
up.
she's even famous. People know what to expect.
But you
got to
build up. You got to build up.
So I think that's all it is. I think you could probably get away with quite a bit more than you realize, as long as you ramp it up correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As long, as I don't tell a vibrator joke. Vibrator jokes do not work for this persona. They don't want.
I think you're wrong.
No, I've done them, and I'm telling you.
You might just need to polish it.
Fuck,
Not
that
the vibrator.
No, fuck. That was a good joke. It was about explosive residue. It was a good joke.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, and it was a true story. It got pulled out of. Okay, now I have to tell the joke.
I would love to hear it, especially if you're not telling it anymore.
Okay, no, I'm not. I have told it twice, and it bombed both times, and I stopped. And literally, I haven't told this joke since 2017, and I'm going to fuck it up. But anyway, okay, so I'm at the TSA, and I'm going through the line, right? And it was a quick trip to the beach, and I just threw some things in, and I was standing next to on a Wednesday, a lady in a prairie dress and her 5 homeschool kids, with the bun and the whole, and that's fine. I'm not judgy or anything. Anyway, and so I'm on the TS, and it goes through, and it goes the other way, and I'm like, oh no, and there's something in there they want to see. Okay, so I go up to the officer, and the ducks and the lady are following, and I go up to the officer and I said, what is it that you're wanting? And he said, there's an item. I believe it's a sexual toy. And I said, what is your name? And I looked at his badge, and it was Dr. Benoit. Like Benoit. Anyway, and I said, okay, doctor, I think it's a vibrator. And he said, is it anatomically correct? And I said, oh God, I hope not. And he said, I'm gonna have to swab it for explosive residue. And I said, that thing hasn't seen explosive residue in 10 years. We're good. And it actually happened exactly like that. And I told it twice on stage, and it was like, no!
Really?
No, that woman can't say that. That's my mom. That's my mom. No, it didn't work.
What do you remember what crowd you were in front of? Like what part of town where you tried it?
I tried it at Noble Ray Brewery.
Where's that at? I've heard it, but I don't know
like
where
in
it
the
is.
Design District.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like or West Dallas, I mean?
It was Wes Corwin's thing, and I tried it there, and I tried it at Hyenas. And both places.
What kind of show were you on Hyenas?
Oh, no. These were open mics, both of them.
No. So, see, you haven't got a good gauge on that yet.
I don't know, man.
You haven't got a good gauge.
It ripped out my soul both those times. I thought, no.
I could be very wrong.
And I think that Ralph Barbosa was in the audience the first time that I told it, and I came off, and he goes, I don't know if you could tell that one. And I trust Ralph now. So I was like, oh, my God, I just don't know. But you might be right.
I could be way off, but I think this whole, when you look at me, I can't say that about whatever. I think you're dead wrong on that. I think, it's just the audience, right?
Right.
Like, I think you're probably just going to have to get really good at reading the audience and finding what the line is and knowing, like, okay, these people will go for it, and then these people definitely won't.
But see, the problem with that is then you have to get really good at ad-libbing and coming out of your set and coming out of all the words that you've memorized and you know so well, and you have to be in the moment. And I've only started being in the moment in the last
that's fine.
24 months. That is the goal.
You got it back there whenever you're ready to use it.
That's the goal.
I just hope.
I mean, I'm 7 years in. That's the goal.
I hope this on some show, when it's just going extremely well and they're just zoned in on you, you feel like pulling it out of your back pocket at some point and just seeing if it goes.
Well, that, and I have a whole pedophile thing I want to do too. But
have you ever seen?
I tried a rape joke once at the Improv.
Yeah,
no,
didn't go well.
No.
You know, I've heard
it was a good rape joke, but you can't hear it from me.
Speaking of Katie Evans, it's like I was asking her about that on this show, and she's like, I don't think there's any rape joke you can do.
Yeah,
and I respectfully disagree. I think it's very difficult, but you can. And it's like I know she would disagree with me on that all day, and that's fine. I wouldn't fight her on it. Like, I understand why she feels that way, but it's definitely a territory. Like, if you're gonna go there, it's got to be so good.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Well, and mine wasn't actually about. I mean, it was during the Me Too thing, and I was young, and so it doesn't matter anyway. And Katie, I'm so sorry. Mine was, and I agree with you. There's no good rape joke, really. But if a rape joke is going to be told, it has to be told by a woman. I think maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. But mine was actually not about rape as much as it was. The punch was all about net worth.
Okay.
You know, the punch was, sometimes the only difference between regret and rape is net worth. And that's a terrible punch. It's horrible. It's horrible.
I know, but again, that goes back to, like, I see where you're going.
Yeah, it was just.
Have you
I
heard?
lived through the 80s. I understand all the things.
Have you heard the Louis C.K. pedophile joke?
Do I want to hear the Louis C.K.? I have not heard it. Do I want to hear it?
I'll probably send it to you sometime. He did a monologue on when he was hosting SNL, one of his monologues, and he was talking about pedophiles. It was some of the only pedophile material I've ever heard.
Right.
And it was so, I think from a writing standpoint especially, you look at it and you go, oh my God, that's incredible. The fact that you connected these dots to this, and then the fact that you thought, I'll try it on Saturday Night Live. And the audience was definitely like 50-50 on it.
Oh yeah.
But it's pretty incredible. Like it just proves.
I mean, if it's written well, I love anything. If it's written well, I mean, like the pedophile joke that I want to do ultimately.
Yeah.
Starts with people my age being scammed.
Okay.
And then it goes to pedophilia, and then it goes to the fact that when I was 14, I was just trying to get laid too. So I mean, it's a whole gamut of things, but it's like it depends on. I mean, I just think you can't stop halfway in a joke. You have to go to the end. You have to go to the end.
Another great person right now, Mark Norman, has a good pedophilia joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't heard it.
His, I'll have to send it to you. Obviously, I don't know it word for word, but the premise was basically like how lucky we all are that we aren't pedophiles. Because if you think about it, like when you're young, you liked younger girls or younger boys or whatever, right? And there were a lot of things you liked when you were young, and you just kind of grew out of it, right? And so basically he was like, I liked younger girls then. I don't like younger girls now. I liked grape juice then. I still like grape juice. And like he's kind of like going that route with it. And he's basically talking about like how, we just dodged a bullet basically, and it's super like, oh my gosh. But he tells it in his Mark Norman style and cadence.
Yeah. Well, the one that I want to tell is kind of like that in that this whole being scammed. I mean, like if a 24-year-old woman, if you're a 62-year-old man, and a 24-year-old woman wants to be your soulmate. That is a scam. That is a scam. That's like Uber Eats prostitution. They just come to you. You don't even have to go to them anymore. That's a scam. I mean, maybe you should give your money to your children instead of, Larry and Sally's children that literally 10 years ago you were watching play soccer. That's pedophilia. And so that's really where the pedophilia thing comes from. But it's like,
gotcha.
And then I say, I got nothing against pedophilia.
Okay.
I mean, because when I was 14, I got to admit it, I was trying to get laid. And that's terrible.
Yeah.
But it also is my truth.
It's a little rough.
So, whatever.
I think, look,
You don't know how long ago I was 14. People were getting married at 15.
You know, I talk about a lot of those subjects with my friends, like when we're out drinking, about how.
Oh, that's a good time to do it.
Well, it's the only time you can talk about that kind of stuff is in a dive bar. With your buddies when you right.
Yeah.
But it really is. It's strange where it's like it's not that long ago that we made these laws.
Right.
So let's not pretend like that didn't exist.
Right.
Very recently.
Right.
My
mom got married when she was 14, and my dad was 18.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I was joking around with my wife,
and
when
they
we got
weren't
married.
pregnant.
You know, it's like the marriage license, right? That whole thing. It's like, look, this is all back when you were property, and I was agreeing with your father. And it's like the whole tradition of like asking your father for your hand. It's like, you know, I did that because it's tradition, and I knew it would make her happy and it would make him happy.
Right.
But it's like this is back when we used to decide on like how the land's being divvied up. It was like I ask him, is it okay if I marry your daughter?
Yeah.
It's like this is all still revolving around when you were property and you were being signed over to me.
Right.
And these traditions are just, you know, now they're being romanticized, and that's fine. Like traditions can change. It's no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, look at Christmas. All things change.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
And you know, it's like I told her, I was like, I don't care if you want to take my last name or not. You can keep your name, whatever.
Right.
And she's like, no, I definitely want your last name. And then when she went through the process of changing all of her stuff over, she's like, I should have just kept my fucking name.
Right. Yes. Well, okay. So interestingly enough, my name is Angela Walker. And when I first started,
it was driving me crazy because when you were like when I was looking at stuff today, I was like, why am I thinking Angela Walker? Why am I thinking this? And I was like, Owen. I was like, why am I thinking Walker?
Yeah.
Okay, I felt like a crazy person.
Okay,
today.
no, I'm Angela Walker, and I didn't know that that's a problem in comedy. I'm too stupid. I just came in from church camp. I don't know that that's a problem in comedy and club comedy because people get you confused just like that. And so I was Angela Walker, and there was already an Angela Walker.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, so Linda Stogner at one point, she said, well, insert your middle name, your maiden name. And so I became Angela Owen Walker. And I was Angela Owen Walker, which was better, but not the best case scenario. And then during the pandemic, I thought, wait a minute, this is the perfect time for me to just rebrand. I'll just redo everything. I got plenty of time. I got no work. I'm doing nothing but day drinking. Let's just go. And so I just rebranded myself as Angela Owen. And and Angela Walker are great comedy buddies. I mean, she's incredible. And I was like, I didn't know there was a problem, but as soon as I did know there was a problem, I was like, I want to fix the problem.
Right.
Whatever I did. So I was Angela Walker, and then I was Angela Owen Walker, and then I was Angela Owen. I rebranded 3 times in 6 years.
Third time's a charm.
Which is a really bad idea. But I lost hundreds of viewers, blah, 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 in the thing, because I had to get a new like Instagram and a new this and that. But it was like, I mean, it was the perfect timing.
But you know, 6 years in, it's crazy how in comedy 6 years in still feels like relatively new.
Oh, it's very new.
You know what I mean?
Oh, it's
so
very new.
I don't think you lost anything.
No. It really doesn't. But in your comedy moment in your world, which is all you got, because every year is a different year, and every year you learn a different thing, and then you learn it in spades, and then in this spot, redoing that at year 3, generally not a good idea. I remember when Mikey B tried to become Mikey Benavides. Is that it? Benavides? Did I fuck that up?
Benavides.
I love him. I don't know. Mikey B. It didn't work.
Yeah.
He's Mikey B. And so I was like, okay. And I was nowhere near. I remember being in Hyenas on a Wednesday night, and Mikey B walking in with that hair and those bowling shirts and those tennis shoes, so bright. I mean, they were like lit up. He walked in, and he just went up anytime he wanted to, and I was like, oh, I want to be Mikey B when I grow up. And he reminds me of my brother, and I was like, oh, I love him so much. And so I have no idea how long he's been doing it. 12 years, I don't know, 13.
He told me, I can't remember. He's been doing it quite a while, but
he's great. I love anytime I can be on a show with Mikey B.
Yeah,
it's just he's got really good weed. I like him.
He's one of those guys that I don't think a lot of people. Well, first of all, if you're not kind of actively tuned into our comedy scene, for some reason you don't know about him. You know,
maybe not.
I don't know why. Yeah. But he's extremely funny, and there's just a confidence on stage that he has that makes you feel very comfortable while you're listening to him do his thing.
Yeah.
And then post his heart attack and everything. I love that material so much.
Yeah, it's very.
And
good.
it's like he was working on that, not even 2 or 3 months after he went through that whole
Right.
ordeal, and it's like
Right.
he just has that brain of like, oh, this will be material.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and
Here's
it wasn't.
life.
It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't hacky. It's very, very good, and that's my favorite style. That's why I when you talk about like, oh, I shouldn't be talking about those things or not. I think if it's you, if it's who you really are, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
Because the comedy that I dislike the most, and I went to a show recently, and I obviously would never say names of like
Right.
bad people, but there were some comics.
There are no bad people. They're just not good people yet.
That's right. There were some comics from out of town.
Okay.
And they were from L.A.
Okay.
And I see this thing like when mid-level L.A. comics come to DFW, I feel like there's this thing where they're like, all right, you hicks, get ready. You're about to experience some first-grade, top-shelf comedy, right? Now, granted, if you're like a headliner out in L.A. and you've been doing this for a while,
well,
that
obviously.
probably holds true.
Yeah.
But when you're like a mid-level person who's on par with our mid-level people here,
Yeah.
I feel like our people tend to do a much better job. I feel like there's more writing involved
Yeah.
and a lot less hacky, punchy one-liners.
We have really good comics in DFW.
Yeah.
We have really good comics.
And so
here.
the ones who always are forgettable to me are the ones who are like trying to write little jokes that have nothing to do with them.
Oh, yeah. That,
You know what I
can't do
mean?
that. Yeah.
And you see it just over and over and
No.
over and over. So I think the stranger it is, the more it tells me about you. Like, if your life really has that type of nuance and strangeness, I want to hear about it. Because that's what's going to make it hilariously funny,
Yeah.
right? Is because you're the only person living that life.
Right.
And so as
Right.
wild as it is, you just have to figure out a way to get it to where they can get comfortable hearing it.
David Jessup always says something. I love David. And David said, he said, you can't forget your story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not going to remember what I'm going to say. And he goes, it's your story. You can't forget it.
Yeah.
And so if I'm telling somebody else's story, then I can forget it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's my story and it's funny and I can sell it, then they will buy it.
100%.
You know?
Well, and it's just,
But it's and all of that, I will tell you, my experience has been there are some things that are harder for me to sell than others.
Sure. Yeah, but that's just,
Yeah.
that's the hurdle, right? That's just
Yeah.
the challenge. I think you're
so.
capable of doing it though. There's nothing
Thanks.
there's nothing I've seen on stage that says you couldn't make something funny if you really want to.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Kind of like if you don't like a premise or an idea and you're like, nah, forget that, then I
Yeah.
can see you not caring. But if you thought like this is good and
Mm-hmm.
it's just not hitting yet, I think you'll find a way to do it because there's just like I said, there really is an intangible confidence with you on stage that makes me feel like you could do it however you would like to. You're just gonna have to figure out how that is.
Well, it's really funny because people from early on, people on the scene would say you have a great stage presence, which means you're not funny and you can't write for shit. But hey, I like your glasses. That's what it means basically. And it's like, okay, I can work with that. I remember the first time I asked Ryan Perrio to look. God, Ryan, I'm so sorry to watch a set of mine at Hyenas. It was a way to get in the second block anyway.
Yeah.
And I got it, and it was a perfect set. I remembered every word. I said all of the words. I said them in order.
Mm-hmm.
It was a perfect set. And I got off, and he goes, "So you took a class? You're writing jokes?" He goes, "Why don't you just try to have fun with it?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, that's the thing I can't do. That's the thing I can't do. I can't have fun with because it's so serious to me." And so to learn how to be in the moment and to have fun with it and to still remember your punch and to remember where you're going from there. You know what I mean? There's so many things that's going on in the head of an entertainer.
But how'd you feel about that advice though?
Oh, it was perfect.
It's pretty dead on, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love.
Oh, yeah.
I've been fortunate enough.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ryan.
I've been fortunate enough that I've gotten to, like Ryan Perrio let me record some audio for him, and then so because I was doing that, I got to hang out with him at his shows for a little while and just be around him. And because he's been doing it so long, and because he works with Hyenas and he's very funny, lots of comics are hitting him up for advice all the time, and it was very fascinating to just sit next to him as a fly on the wall and watch him just repeatedly give advice to people when they asked him. Like, he never went out of his way to just be like, you should do this. But if you asked him, he would give such solid advice.
Yeah.
And it's stuff where you're just like, damn, that is exactly what that person needed to hear. And you really start to understand, like, he has put in the hours and is capable of giving that advice.
And the first time, and at that moment, I thought I was having fun. And then the first time I actually had fun on stage, like true, like unabandoned fun. Like, oh my God, this is just fantastic, was a good 3 years later.
That's interesting. Yeah.
A good 3 years later, I would say.
I mean,
it just comes on slowly. And then we had the pandemic, see?
Yeah, that really
I missed 462 days. So that's a year.
Yeah.
So am I 7 years in? Am I 6 years in? I mean, you know what I mean? Where am I? And it's just.
What's the same way with this podcast? We'd been doing it about a year when the pandemic hit. And then, our son was born February 2020. So then we did lockdowns. And we didn't know what the virus was going to do yet. So I was like, we've got to stop doing all interviews. I can't risk getting him sick or anything.
Right.
And so it was a good probably year and a half before I started him up again. And it feels like this massive reset.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, in the grand scheme of it, it doesn't matter. But
Right.
But
like, I don't want to watch documentaries that are from before 2020.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming. Nostradamus, no, you don't know. You don't know. I mean, it's like, so it was a reset. It absolutely was.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I remember the first show back in 2021. It was a road trip to Oklahoma at Bricktown, and Megan King, thank you, Megan, talked me into doing it. And I was like, she goes, it's 15 minutes. I go, I can't do 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't do 10 minutes. I've got 6 minutes. That's all I've got. And she goes, you had 15 minutes before we left. And I was like, I can't. And she goes, yes, you can. We'll figure it out between here and there.
Yeah.
She just get in the car, and it was just great. It was great because I did have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it anymore. And so it's really nice. In comedy, it's really nice, especially, and I don't know if it's this way for guys or what. I don't know how men work or women work. It doesn't matter. But it's really nice when you have another woman that says, I know the competition is stiff, and I know there's only one person on every show, one of us on every show, but here, I'm going to give you a hand up because I want you to be one of the ones that are on shows. And it was just, and it was great. It was fantastic. We met Emily Griefer afterwards because she was at one of the other clubs that I can't remember at the moment, and Mike Head was her headliner, and we sat and we ate burgers, and it was just, it was like, oh, I really like these people.
They're the names you just mentioned, Emily and Megan. Those are two of my favorites.
Yeah. So I was like, I like these people. I think I am. It's not, I think I want to be one of these people. I think I am one of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even in this decrepit ACL, arthritis-ridden, oh my God, just don't live past 50. It's horrible. But all of this, I still think that I don't know that I have anything to offer comedy, but it has a lot to offer me. And so I'm going to keep doing it as long as they keep putting me on shows.
Yeah, I think you will.
When they stop calling me, I'll go, okay, well, I guess that was fun.
I think my experience anyway, like the show I saw you on recently, right?
Was that like a really late show?
Maybe. I can't remember.
It feels like it was like a 10 o'clock show or something.
I'm so lucky. We live here in Dallas, and all the clubs we have, I get to go to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
So they all start blending together because it's all mixed in with like a 3-year-old and everything.
Right. Well, as long as I stood out, you can just talk about that now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What I was genuinely going to say though is, you've been on enough shows now. It's like, it's real easy to get 2 or 3 comics that are just very similar in age, in opinion, in experience, life experience, whatever. So there is a nice little reset when you come on stage of like, I'm about to get something different, and so I think that's your strength. I think that's what you got to go with is, it's definitely not going to be like what a lot of the comics are doing. And that's the strength, right? That's what's good.
Yeah.
And
it's good to have your own lane.
Absolutely, because man, you can get so bored so quick on some of these comedy shows. And these people, there's just no original thought.
There's just a lot of I mean, it's original thought to them. Perhaps it's a lot of. I mean, it's very relatable, and it's a lot of what people like. You will never hear me do an Uber joke. You'll never hear me do an airport joke. I'm not going to do an Uber joke. I'm not going to do an airport joke. I'm not going to do a dating app joke. Those are not my jokes. I can't do those. But I think it's just a lot of common experience. It's universal thought. I mean, those are what things. I mean, everybody. People don't know who Brad Pitt is.
Well, but that also goes back to just finding audiences. Obviously you want to make it work for any audience.
Right.
But, I think you'll slowly start finding audiences that you really benefit from being around those. Because it's not like you're, 300 years old and no one knows any of your experiences. Like, Jesus.
No. And generally speaking, the people who can afford to go to a comedy club are people that are my kids' age. Mm-hmm. And so they know exactly who I am.
Have your kids watched your comedy?
Oh, yeah.
What did they say?
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are great. My kids have helped me write jokes. They've okayed jokes. They've gone, oh my God, don't tell that. They've done all the things, and so they're great.
I would argue you're in a good spot because you said you're the tail end of Gen X, right?
I'm the beginning of Gen X.
Beginning of Gen X.
Not 1965.
Okay, so what that means to me is the people who are going to understand everything you're talking about would be the boomer generation, Gen X, millennials.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones surrounding that generation, right?
Right.
Gen Z, maybe not. I don't know. I think that's just like they already don't get millennials, my generation.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I have a 16-year-old granddaughter. She's like, I don't know who Brad Pitt is. No.
But like, really think about the volume of people we just talked about.
Yeah.
And those people have disposable incomes and they like going to comedy shows.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, Leanne Morgan and Karen Mills are doing great right now.
Yeah.
I'm not quite Southern enough. I wish there are times that I wish that I was less Texan and more a little bit Southern, because that seems to really that's a genre. I mean with the redneck comedy tours and then these, it's a real thing. But I think, I only trust postmenopausal women anyway.
Have you got down to Austin and done anything down there yet?
I have not.
Would you ever consider doing a Kill Tony? I know that's polarizing to comics.
Yeah,
For some reason, I feel like that. I will say this: I am not a big fan of Austin.
Okay.
I'm not like I don't like going to the city a whole lot.
Right.
Anytime I've gone, I've had just okay experiences.
Right.
But I do enjoy listening to the Kill Tony show and kind of what that, what they do down there. And
have you ever seen anybody like me or near to like me that wasn't just like roasted the shit out of?
Well, here's the thing: my experience of listening to that show, okay, like it's a wild card. I don't know, anything could happen on that show, right? But the commonality is, if you come in there as someone who cares about the craft and you're taking it seriously and you have prepared material, they might jab at you a little, but they're not going to destroy you. Even if you had a bad set, like they know that you're trying, right?
Right.
Because people will shit on Tony Hinchcliffe a lot.
Yeah.
He does a lot to deserve it.
Yeah.
But I've listened to his show for a very long time, and especially back when he was in LA, he is very, very supportive of comedy as a craft. So like in the early days when they were in LA, like if the crowd ever booed, he would like immediately be like, you shut the fuck up. Like if you didn't sign up, if you don't have the balls to get on stage, you keep your fucking mouth shut, and he would roast his audience about like, this is an art, this is a craft, you don't boo.
Right.
And he's very big on like, you get an uninterrupted minute. No one's going to boo. No one's going to heckle. No big name comic is going to jab at you. Like you have 1 minute to do your thing. And, they're smart enough to know, like, if you are taking it seriously and you're trying material that is serious, that you're actually working on, they might roast you a little, but usually they'll actually give you solid advice. Like within the roast, it's stuff about like, this is the stuff you might want to consider talking about. Like they roasted you, but it's like, ooh, I didn't think that was the funny thing about me or something, But if you're good, if you have a good response, and it really just comes down to the crowd, right? And Tony doesn't control the crowd. No. The guests don't. It's like, that's just another show.
Right.
But that crowd seems to be able to handle, more abrasive comics.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as like someone who's coming out like,
not like
shock and awe.
Yeah.
But like, if you started off with the homewrecker joke to that audience, I don't think it would be I don't think they would go, ooh, because they're so used to that abrasiveness, right?
Yeah.
Especially with Tony.
Right.
And I think the crowds down at, Joe's Club, the Mothership, I think that they would probably fall in line close to that. Red Band's club, I think, is called the Sunset Strip. And, he's on Kill Tony. So I feel like it'd be worth your time to go test those waters, even if it wasn't on Kill Tony, to just see if there's something you can do down there. That audience might really dig it,
it's I don't know. my kids are this age group, and I'm afraid of these people. So I'm just like,
You know what? The only people I've ever seen them destroy on those shows are people who try to just be assholes, right? Like they get some feedback. Or
well,
they get,
other than Pung.
Well, his story was definitely very different,
Yes,
yeah. And that's one of the things, like, I love Pung. I like Tony's show. I definitely side with Pung on that whole thing. But I'm also like, none of my business, water under the bridge. I can separate a performer from their personal life and their art here and there, as long as it's not too extreme.
And Pung's great. I mean, and Pung understands business. He understands business.
I like Pung, and I think that look, Tony's career is doing fine. He's not going to suffer from that anymore. Yeah. And I think Pung's path wasn't meant to be Kill Tony anyway. No. I think what he's going to do is going to be just fine. It's going to take longer, but it's going to be better in the long run, I think. Yeah. I mean, shortly after that, he got passed to the Comedy Cellar. Yeah. It's like, that's fucking huge.
Yeah, yeah. I love Punk.
The greats that have graced that stage, and now he gets to work with them.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a sleeper for a little while, and then when he explodes, it's going to be phenomenal.
He's going to be one of those people. I knew him.
I had
his phone number.
I think he'll have the
That's how I felt about Ralph. I had his phone number. It's not his number anymore because he doesn't get back to me, but that's okay. I'm like, whatever.
He probably had to change the number. Imagine all the local.
Sure. Oh, I'm sure.
Imagine all the little small bookers that were hitting him up about every little thing.
Yeah. No, that's okay. But it's, I think that everybody has their own path, and Kill Tony may not be everybody's jam, thing. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, I don't know.
And I wouldn't recommend anybody just going to it.
Yeah.
I just wonder how well you would do there. I feel, my gut tells me that if you had a good minute, that if you decided like...
Oh, God, if I could just have one good
minute.
No.
But you know what the trick is? The trick is choosing which minute
of your
set.
That's it.
1 minute's very difficult.
Oh, 1 minute. See, I have lots of 1 minute jokes.
Yeah.
1 minute is perfect for me. It's just which one?
Which one?
Is it homewrecker? Is it trophy wife? Is it shoplifting? What is it? Which one is the one to tell? But it's there. Thank God I have some minutes. I mean, just thank God I have some minutes in general. I mean, I can do 45 minutes now, and that is impossible to me.
Yeah.
If I think back 6 years ago, I'm like, there's no way I could have. And you don't get there. I mean, it's like pregnancy. I mean, you get there 1 minute at a time. You get there 1 minute, one joke at a time. And it's such a great process, and it's just such a growing thing. And so I don't know that I'm 58. Did I mention I'm 58? And I don't know how much shit I'm willing to go through to get where I'm going, because I don't know. It's like I don't know how much. I don't know how many hard knocks I'm willing to. It's awful actually.
But
because when people go, oh, don't you want to travel? I'm like, I don't want to stay in comedy condos. I can't. I'm 58. I can't. I gotta have sheet quality, and I'm a spoiled brat.
I don't think you have to do that anymore, though. And honestly, like,
well, hopefully because I'm in this Funny Women UK contest right now, right? I just got to the second heat, yay! And and that's I am a semifinalist all day long. I'm a semifinalist all day long, but never a finalist. But there are other avenues that and obviously technology. I mean, obviously you can virtually become anybody overnight. All those things, and there are other places to go and other things to do. But I see these guys and women. I see women and guys. I mean, I see Megan King, traveling, 10 hours to get to a place to work during the day on her day job, and then do the thing at night, and then come back, and then get to the basketball game or the orchestra thing, and all. I see, and it's a lot, and I'm just like going, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're in a great spot in your life where you don't have to do that.
No, I don't have that. I don't have those things. I'm also super, super lazy, and so I have to decide. And it's it's one of those things. If you could jump ahead and see the success where it's going, if that is indeed where it's going, then it would encourage you along the way. And as a woman, you don't get a lot of attaboys. In this, because it's majority men, and you don't get them from them. I don't, and so you get them from other women. But I mean, if you're the only woman on the show, the producer says, "Good set," and I'm not saying that women need special care. That is not what I'm saying.
I understand what you're
But
saying,
there's
yeah.
not a. You have to really. It takes a lot from anybody. But I just have to play the female card a little bit on it. That's all.
Well, I think you play the cards you're dealt. I mean, I was talking to, again, Cody Swindell. I was talking to him. You know, he was talking about being older, and I was explaining, like, you know, I think there's a lot of relatability to that. It's just different audiences. And, like, Matt Rife was really in the news lately about, you know, he's the sexy comedian.
Yeah.
And it's like, play the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think
He's
there's any
definitely
shame in
playing
that.
it.
As long as the jokes are funny, you know, I don't care how you market yourself. Do what you need to do because it's such a tough thing, right?
Right.
But no, I understand what you're saying. I do wonder a lot of times too, like a lot of on maybe a local comedy level anyway. I do wonder if a lot of local comics, not necessarily here, just anywhere, when they're all just starting out and there's women around, you know, a lot of these guys are guys that just don't know how to communicate to women in general.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And so I do wonder if one of the barriers for female comics is that, you know, you're dealing with these guys who, you know, don't know how to hit on women, talk to them or anything. So it's just such an uphill battle to even speak to them and break down that barrier that maybe some of it's even just subconsciously like, I don't want to talk to her. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. That may be given too much credit, but
I think, you know,
but you know, like
I think anything that you're doing when you throw in sexual tension,
yeah,
or awkward social behavior, or you know what I mean, or just male female, you know, 70. I make 70 cents an hour, you make $1 an hour. Yeah, there's a lot of male female things, you know, and anytime that you're doing anything that involves both sexes, it's going to be hard.
it gets
right?
a little weird, right?
It gets a little weird.
Yeah.
It gets a little weird. And see, and I came in at a point to where I've never been hit on. I've never been, none of those things. None of those things ever happened to me. I came in with an age that everybody was really kind and really nice, and the guys are great, and I love them. I mean, the comedy guys have been so nice to me the whole way. I mean, either you ignore me or you're nice to me. You know what I mean? And I mean, the women are always great, right? But I mean, the guys have been. If they're shitheads, I don't know it.
Yeah.
You know, if they're dicks, I don't really know it. It's not something I'm. You know, I'm postmenopausal. I'm post-sexual. I don't care.
Post-sexual.
I don't care. I don't care anymore. And so that is that's an armor that I wear that makes it, you know. But also when you also have to be relevant enough, in it enough, to when they're putting on a show, when someone's producing a show and they're thinking of a female, they might think of you. They might think of you.
Yeah.
You know.
Paulos Firo was talking to me about that, about how, you know,
Paulos Firo was my first comedy crush, and if he's watching this, he knows this is true.
Well, he was just talking about how people would hit him up to be on.
Paulos.
People would hit him up to be on shows, or like, why aren't you putting me on shows or something? That he was, and he's like, I literally, like, there's just a lot to think about, and we can definitely put you on, like.
Right.
Just talking about how there's so many people doing it that
Right.
it's hard to even keep tabs on everyone who's available to do something.
Right.
So
See, like with the State Fair, I've been building a brand, this this deep fried comedy brand, and so I had to cultivate. I had to beg certain kinds of comics to be on my show to balance it out, and they have to do really clean comedy. They have to do 10 minutes of really clean comedy. It can't be controversial. It can't be. It's all these things, but the exposure is good. The pay is good. All the things. It's a good gig. But then this year I've expanded it. I've doubled it because I'm trying to get a second show by next year. And so like I have 5 comics and now I have 10 comics, you know what I mean? And trying to I mean, there's so much talent. There's so much talent in DFW. And when you're trying to put something together, you have to weigh everything.
when you're doing the State Fair shows, how often are those performing during the
Every
fair?
Friday night.
Every Friday.
We're every Friday night.
One show on Friday?
Every Friday night, 8 o'clock at the Wine Garden.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to get 2 shows on Fridays?
I'm trying to get a Friday and a Saturday
Friday,
show.
Saturday. Gotcha.
And 2 tickets to the fair are yours. I can get those for you.
Oh,
and make
thank
sure
you.
you make the show.
We
And this year. Okay, so the team is this. It's David Jessup, Barry Whitewater,
yeah.
Latrice Wilkerson, me, Brittany Goss, CJ Starr, And then this year, Lawrence Rosales, Shed G, Zach Webb, and Sylvia McBateman.
So I'm definitely going to have to go. One, Sylvia McBateman is somebody I've been trying to watch for literally like 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
But she, I think, performs more north, probably because she lives closer that way.
Yeah.
And it's just hard for me to get out there.
She's great. She opened for me last year.
I can tell she's funny already.
At the Comedy Arena, she opened for me. She was great. And then we were on a show at a winery out in Denison. She's great.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
And then the only other person on that list who I haven't watched is Brittany Goss. And I hear great things about her all the time. So. Yeah, I would love
to. Brittany has helped me through a lot of things with the fair. Just, dealing with the ins and outs of production and like that. She's a great help.
Doesn't she work at Plano Comedy
Plano House
Club?
of Comedy.
Plano House of Comedy. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. She's the booker for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah. So she knows. She's a great comedian, but she knows the business side like nobody else.
Yeah.
Like nobody else. And that's, if you can get that down, you can do something with your talent.
Yeah. That's the weird thing about, it's kind of.
Because it's 90% business and 10% talent. It
for sure.
always is, and it's like, you've got to understand the business side of it and what it takes and everything, branding and, not only are you dealing with finding your voice and figuring out how to write and who are you and who will they allow you to be and all the things like that, but you brand yourself and then you got to figure out how to get paid. And then it's just, W-9s and all the,
Yeah. And then just like, I need to film this set. I need to learn how to edit it down because I need to post it to social media. I need to make sure I get, all the new stuff that comes with it.
That's why I have children.
Yeah. Do they help you out with that? Oh, that's awesome.
My daughter Lacey is my assistant on those things.
That's really good.
She makes posters for me. She does reels. She does all the things for me.
That's...
She owes me. Okay? She owes me. We bought 5 cars for that girl.
That's one of the beautiful things, though, about you performing at this era of comedy. You were talking about, like, I don't want to travel 10 hours. I don't want to do this. It's like, really, if you don't want to do that, then you could spend more of your effort on, like, okay, when I am hitting these stage, how do I make sure that these are clips that I can then post out there to help get the word out that way?
Yeah, if you're not going to have tons of stage time, like, I have 7 shows between now and the 15th of August, okay, which is a good busy time for me. But I'm not working every weekend, so I have to maximize my stage time. It's going to have to be a tight set. It's going to have to be good enough. I'm going to have to get clips from this. I'm going to have to get reels from this. I have to do that. And so, it's a lot of that. And with a very barely Gen X brain, I'm trying to figure this shit out. And I'm like, I don't even, like, I'm wanting to play Pong. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And I'm not on TikTok, and I never will be because I can't. My brain can't do it. And so, I have to know my limitations. Yeah. But putting reels on Instagram and putting reels on Facebook and doing YouTube and figuring out how to enter these contests and do all that, it's, I would say it's keeping me young, but my knees are falling apart, and I don't think that
That's
it's keeping
unrelated.
Me. I don't think it's keeping me young. I feel old, and so I'm trying. When I first got on stage, I really talked a lot about being old, and I've tried to not. I've talked about things that only an old person can know, but don't talk about being old.
I think that again, coming from a non-comic, someone who doesn't perform, I wouldn't pigeonhole you in that corner. Like I wouldn't put that in the mind of the audience. I would just come up and do material, and like you said, if you can allude to it through the material, sure. Yeah. But I would not, I don't know.
I will not run away from a good, I'm old joke, but it's going to have to be good because everyone my age is going to get up and talk about being old.
You're right.
And I'm like, okay, so that I don't want to do.
You don't want it to be similar to the, I took an Uber.
Yeah. It's got to be, and everybody.
But genuinely, when you come on stage, the first thought isn't, oh, here's this old lady. That's not the first thought of an audience member.
What is the first thought? Oh, my God, she's short. What is the first thought? What are you thinking?
Well, you purposely have unique fashion, right?
Right.
So that's the first thought is like, okay, a little bit of a wild card here, right?
I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. Like fashion, hair. Like you said, now that you told me you were a hairstylist for that long, it's like, okay, this is starting to click here, who this person is. I'm starting to get like, this is someone who's a more adventurous person. Because she was a hairstylist, she'll take risk with that.
Right.
Obviously, the choice in glasses, all those types of things, like bold personality, right? And like I was saying, that's refreshing when you get a lot of introvert, like shoulders hunched. I'm a very nervous, quiet comic.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And
right.
like those are funny too.
Oh, I love them. I love them.
It's got its own place, but the variety is what's great, right?
Right.
It's I talk all the time about like I love watching Emily Griefer follow like Angela Walker.
Oh yeah.
Totally different comics,
yeah.
totally different styles.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes a show great.
Yeah.
So when you come up, it's not like, let's see what this old bag's got to say. It's nothing like that. It's just like, well, this is different. Let's see what we're going to get. Yeah, that's never the first thought. So
that's good. Yay, that's good. Because it's definitely, when I'm talking to customer service, they want to know if I own a computer, and I'm like, okay. Or when they ask me to fax something, I'm like, who the fuck has a fax machine? Or mail something. I'm like, I don't bust. I don't know what you're talking about. There's so many things.
Don't you think this is some of the old material you should be doing?
Probably.
You know what I mean about how like people like you feel like you're being lumped into this, and you're like, can I just send you the fucking PDF?
Yeah.
I know how to do this.
I can scan the copy. I can do this. I can scan the document. Do you have iScan? Can I hit you up with that? I mean, do you have a collection board? Can I help?
Yeah.
And all the things. And I'm not super techie, but it's like I am still. I don't know that I'm. It's a weird thing to watch all of your people become irrelevant. It's a weird thing to be in this tribe, and all of a sudden people are just falling off of the tribe because they don't want to think anything new. They don't want to learn anything new. They are done, and they're done being tolerant with these assholes, and they're just done. And they're and I'm out, and I'm voting for Trump, and and I'm like, oh my God, this is my tribe. I don't know how to get out of this tribe. Maybe it's through comedy. Maybe I should jump and get out. I don't know, but it's weird not to be a part of that really cantankerous, angry, curmudgeonous, pissed off group and still be the same age as them. Yeah. And so I don't ever want to come across as, I'm bitchy, don't get me wrong. I'm bitchy and I'm a smart ass, but I don't want to come across as bitter and angry. I think bitter, angry female comic has its place, and those that are really good at it should do it, but I just make people hate me. And that's not the goal.
Yeah. Well, and like you see it, I'm 38, and so I'm just now stepping into that realm of like, like they say you don't find any new music after your 30s and those types of things. And like the shows you like, and I think about that a lot. And it's like, I don't want to stop experiencing new things just because I don't understand things. Right. And that's, I tend to be more liberal, but it's like I try to understand where everybody's coming from. Conservative, liberal, it's like I can see why you think that way, even if I disagree.
I would say that I'm definitely the most liberal of all my friends and all my people group.
Well, because it's so easy to be, like, God, my wife and I were already complaining about like how like service used to be better, right?
Another joke I'll never tell. Customer service. Don't spoil your kids. They're adults with us now. Right. Customer service is shit.
And it's like every generation thinks this. Yes. And you know what? The world keeps turning. It's fine. It's just different.
You have to get, you have to adjust.
It's like, look.
Adjust or die.
When I was telling her, it's like, do you expect the Chipotle worker who's making okay money, not great, to really give a shit about your burrito? It's like, it would be nice if they had a little bit just like you don't have to pretend like you're happy to be there, but like, let's just get through this, okay?
Right.
But it's like also, I think this generation, like Gen Z and younger, I think they're the first generation to realize like, oh, the rest of us have all been kind of getting fucked by these companies. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like boomers had a lot of the American dream of, you work with this company for 20, 30 years and it pays off, right? You can retire from Walmart as a cashier with a 401k and live okay.
Right.
You won't eat cat food, right?
Right, exactly.
And then Gen X, I think, was like, all right, I just do what my boomer parents did and we're going to be all right. You work for the company, right? And then y'all were the first generation to really get fucked over where they're like, oh, we can fire them before they get this pension. Or better yet, we can do away with pensions.
Yes.
And then, you know what? Like, instead of giving them this massive bonus for their 20 years of service, we'll give them a watch that they don't give a shit about.
Exactly.
We'll let them buy it out of this stupid catalog of other horrible options to buy things, right?
Exactly.
And then millennials, I think we were the first group to be like, are we getting fucked?
There is no American dream.
I think we might be getting screwed because the boomers were good.
Yeah.
The cool Gen X people that I used to drink beer with when we weren't supposed to, they seem like they're upset now.
Yeah.
And they were not upset back then.
Yeah. No.
And, and then millennials, I think, like, we saw it, but we weren't really understanding what to do yet because it's like, well, fuck, I need a job.
Right.
And, like, I don't want to piss off my boss and lose this. And it's like, but the companies aren't changing, right? I think what happened with COVID and with Gen Z all at once is you're seeing the first new generation who's like, I'm not doing that bullshit.
Yes.
I'm just not going to do it because I've seen 2 generations now get screwed on this lie of an American dream you're selling me. And there's some companies that do it really well.
Well, the very first president I ever voted for was Ronald Reagan.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And Ronald Reagan fucked our nation. Yes, he did. He took off the ceiling and he didn't create a floor. He said, you can make as much money as you want to, and then you will give to the poor. And they didn't.
Right.
And they don't. And that's not how humanity works with money.
Yeah.
Humanity may work that way with kindness or with all, but money, no. They give it to their downline, and there's 6 generations of nobody has to work.
Yep.
And so it just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the first little experiment about that.
Yeah.
And when 2008 happened, my husband lost his job, and it was start over.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, he taught school for 2 years, made a third of what he was making before. I busted my ass doing hair every moment of every day for 2.5 years trying to make it, and it was like, my God, nothing is set in stone.
No, nothing.
They don't care.
Mm-mm.
They don't care.
Yep.
We are literally just hands and feet.
Yeah. And I think as a whole, our generations just didn't see that in time.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
And now I think enough of us have talked about it.
Yeah.
That's what kind of gives me hope about that younger generation.
Yeah.
Where I try to tell my wife, like, we can't be these people who are like, these young kids. It's like, I think in a way they're doing the right thing.
Right.
Some of them are just idiots, but that's every generation.
Right.
But it's like, you know what? You shouldn't be psyched about making minimum wage at a job right now because minimum wage fucking sucks.
Right.
But it's like there are some companies, like I was looking around at I'm so lame. Sometimes I'll just look at what companies are hiring and what they pay.
Right.
Just to see what they're paying.
Yeah.
And Buc-ee's, like, they seem to have a decent starting pay for people who you consider, like, when I say unskilled, I mean like you don't have a college degree or a trade.
Right, or a trade, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
so you're going in with very little documentation to say I'm worth more on paper.
Right.
And they seem to, like, they offered what seemed like good starting pay, PTO and 401ks.
Oh,
and it's like at a fucking gas station.
Yeah.
And it's like, so if the gas station can do this shit, why can't some of these other companies, right? And it's like, I've heard people rave about working at Costco and that's a great company. And it's like, I think this might be the first generation. Like right now, everyone's like, they don't want to work. And it's like, no, I think you're just not worth working for.
Yes.
Because these other companies are having no problem. Like, I don't see Chick-fil-A hurting for staff.
No.
I don't know what it is.
Some days off.
But but it's like you go in there and they're usually staffed.
Yeah.
They're usually good to go.
Yeah, because they're paying them right. They're doing something
That's
right.
what I think. It's like if they're not in there making, $60 an hour, but they're making what's fair. And I think that's all what people want. So I think this generation could be the next somewhat rebellious generation that might help turn some of that around.
Well, what is that saying about how hard times make for strong people, strong people make for good times make for soft people,
right?
Soft people make for hard times.
Exactly.
And so I don't know, is the millennials the soft ones or Gen X the soft ones? I don't know, but I think it's cyclical.
I think I
think these people are going to have to. I mean, the generation beyond you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's time for a revolution, and that's cyclical too. And so it falls on. I mean, thank God it didn't fall on Gen X because we are apathetic as crap. I mean, we just don't. You can't even get us to vote hardly. I mean, it's just we're awful, especially the older ones. We're just like, oh, can't anymore. But I think that. My granddaughters who are 15 and 16, they seem to care about things, and they seem to have a sense of self that I certainly didn't have at that age. A sense of, I'm not going to be treated that way. I'm not, no.
Yeah.
No, we're done. And they're not spoiled kids. They're not rich kids. They're just regular kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, they have a sense of self. And this idea of life balance.
Yeah.
Quality of life balance that you work your ass off. And then you come home and die. You work
like an American.
Yes, you work your ass home. You come home and drink and ignore your children like an American should. And you go on vacation 2 weeks every year and make it up to them. And then there's Christmas, and then that you do it the rest of the time. But they don't want to do that. They want to like have a balance.
Yeah.
And people my age are assholes, and they say things like, "Oh, they want to have a balance now. They're so tired. Oh, I have growing pains. Okay, all right." And we just, and we put them in this box. But
at the same time,
that's what is required. The revolution requires a complete dissatisfaction and an inability to let it happen anymore. And Gen X bent over, and the millennials bent over, and now Gen Z maybe won't.
Yeah. I tend to think that way.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong, but I feel like I feel like this isn't a generation that's going to go like it won't happen by like protesting in the streets or anything. I think it's going to be
smarter than that.
I believe so. I hope so too. I hope it's very clever, and I hope a bunch of them.
Gen X was really about the streets and stuff because we like the posters and we like to draw and we want to make words and we want to say things and we want to wear banners and boas and we love it.
And y'all were the last true generation before social media.
Yes.
So it had to be a physical thing.
Yeah, you had to be seen. You had to be seen.
But I don't know. I think a bunch of them are going to start a lot of companies that should be run the correct way and put a lot of other companies out of business.
Yeah.
And people will be shouting like, they're destroying us. We can't do this. And it's like sometimes dinosaurs need to die, right?
Yeah.
And if, you either, like you were saying about yourself, it's like you either change with the times.
Or you die.
Yeah. It's like,
and the thing is this, you don't have to agree.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to agree. There's so many things I don't agree about. I don't have to agree. I just have to try to live a beneficial life for myself and for others in whatever sense I can do that. I don't have to agree that you're right or that I'm wrong or that you don't have to be wrong in order for me to be right.
Yeah.
You don't have to be right in order for none of that. None of that is a real thing.
I have this great coworker, it's like we are on kind of opposite ends of thinking about social, political things, right?
Uh-huh.
But we can have great conversations, and she's usually just like, I don't think we agree on that. It's like, fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're allowed to just go, yeah, you're right. I think we disagree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Well, and I like I said, I have friends, from one end of the spectrum to the other, and especially one of the benefits of being older and starting and being in comedy is I'm allowed to hang out with younger people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm allowed to be in spaces that most people my age are not in. You know what I mean? I'm in spaces that are a lot of 20-something and 30-something year old people, and so I get to hear, the really mundane, stupid stuff, and every dick joke that they ever want to tell. But I also get to hear real things, and it's like, okay, this is kind of what my kids are thinking. Okay, this is good to know, and I don't know. I just think that at some point, doesn't it behoove the older generation to not think that yesterday was better?
Right.
The 70s were amazing. It was the Wonder Years. They were amazing. Not having to come in until it got dark. We ran the streets. We did whatever we wanted to do. It was amazing. It was. And it was a long time ago. And it doesn't have to be that to be good.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. You know what I mean? And it's like this idea that we just get in a time warp and we just can't. And we think that by moving forward or thinking forward that something is being taken away from us.
Right, yeah.
That we're losing something to love the future.
Mm-hmm.
We're losing something to love the future. And I'm like, change is going to happen no matter what we do. So can we be happy in it? Can we just be happy in it? And that's what I'm always telling my husband. I'm like going, we are at the age and the stage where companies will get rid of us.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you shouldn't stick out. Perhaps you shouldn't be bitchy.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should think ahead of our nose and say, okay, maybe the new way is good. Maybe it's good.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and
at least don't be a stumbling block for it.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I think about that a lot in the sense of like, do people, in the sense of a generation, it's like, do you almost need an enemy? You know, like, you don't need one, clearly. But
no.
But,
Yeah.
you know, do you have to be like, it would be better if these people weren't screwing it up, right?
Oh, well, there's always, I mean.
And I don't mean that like.
No. Human nature is always looking for a scapegoat.
Right.
You know?
So I think
and the young are always easy. The young are an easy target because they don't know anything. Because they've not been here for a minute. They've only been alive for half of my shoestrings.
Right.
Like, I don't know. They don't know.
And to
so
be clear,
you feel
you
like
don't know anything.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Like,
and you just you don't know.
Like,
you don't know.
we're talking about treating you with respect, but you're still fucking stupid. I'm going to say that.
Yeah. And there's that. But it's, I mean, and there are, I mean, come on, let's be reasonable. There are things that only time will teach you.
Right.
There are things that only age will teach you. And how in the world, why in the world would I expect someone in their 30s to think the way I think about anything?
Mm-hmm.
They would be really old in their thought process. You know?
I think most of that, you know, like, every generation has a lot of people that things didn't work out the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, right? And so I think that group, that's the easiest go-to. It's like, well, if this young kid wasn't taking my job, or if they would pull their weight, or if they would do that, I think that's why it's such an easy go-to. And it's like, you know, a lot of people just have a hard time of going like, hey, man, it's okay it didn't work out, but you fucked it up. It was all your own doing.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you're not somewhere you wanted to be, there might have been a few things that got in your way, but in the end, a lot of it was probably your own self-sabotage.
Right.
You know,
well,
and that's not for everyone. Some people got fucked over, but
yeah, absolutely.
The average person, it's like the opportunity was there.
What did you do with your fucked overness?
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you learn? What did you learn? How did you grow? How did you? I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, I had a starter marriage, and I've been married for 30 years now. You know what I mean. What did I learn from the first one that it didn't bring to the, I mean, it's experience. You cannot learn from other people's words. You can only learn from your own experience if you're willing to.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to learn from your experience, then you'll get an opportunity again.
Yeah.
Because it'll keep coming back to you, I think, you know. But I think generally speaking, you can look down or you can look up. Like, I mean, there has to be a good side of most every situation. You have to really look for it sometimes, and it sounds very Pollyanna, stupid, and all that. But I mean, you have to look for it, or at least the lesson in it, or you know what I mean. What's going on?
I'm real big on being like, have your quick moment, right? It's like, if something happens, just be like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh,
goddamn
absolutely. Oh, yes.
Bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And then it's like, all right, well, what the fuck are we gonna do about it?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Or it's like when I used to wait tables, you know, and you got a. It's like, if we knew this group of people came in every Friday and they never tipped or whatever, and you just be like, fucking table 5, god damn, and then you'd be like, let's get them in and out, let's go, and you still go out there and you fucking do it, and you make, you know, it's like, you're gonna let that dictate your whole night, the whole rest of your shift, your whole attitude. And I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
But I think that's just hard, like, especially I don't know, I think as like, even like Americans, our country's very, like, you were talking about, you went to London, and it's how much older than ours, like 700 years old.
750 years.
And it's like, maybe you can speak to it, but I feel like as a country, like as a populace, you know, compared to other nations who've been around for literally, like, China's been around for like 2,000 years, right?
Yes.
You know, we're kind of like teenagers.
Oh, we're very young.
As
we're
a country,
like a 14,
right?
We're like a 14-year-old
we
in
think
everything.
We know it all.
Oh, yeah.
We got all the answers. We don't have to clean this up.
Nope.
And
we have no idea.
Yeah.
We could learn so much. We could learn so much from the experiences of other countries who have gone ahead of us. I mean, there are some things that London, that England, the UK, they have matured past. They've matured past. We saw a protest while we were there on Saturdays in London. They have protests. Now the cops go in the front of the protest. The cops bring up the rear of the protest. People have signs and they have bullhorns and they're saying things and everything. And they have booths and people can go, if you want to join that group to be that you can go to the booth and everything. And it is organized, and you can do whatever, you know, be against 5G, be against the money cards, whatever you want to do. But it's organized because people need to be able to say, I don't agree
Right.
But it and it's maybe the politeness of the British. I don't know what it is, but it seemed like it was. But those people, every night of every week, on every freaking corner, you could hear people singing loudly in pubs, and not karaoke. Everybody is singing at the top of their lungs because they're not going to get shot, and they have health care. They're happy people.
Yeah.
They're happy people.
Yeah.
And will Americans ever be happy? I think because of what happened with the whole trickle-down theory and all that, I think we've lost sight of what happy is and what happy costs. We think it costs a lot more than it does. Mm-hmm. And we have this, since we lost our ceilings, we never created a floor, we have this idea of too much being the goal always.
Right.
And I just saw people in the UK. We were there for almost 3 weeks, and I just saw people in the UK being happy with enough.
Yeah.
Being happy with enough. And I think that we don't understand contentment. And I know that I don't. I'm a spoiled brat. Don't get me wrong. But I just think that it's when we said that the owner could make 1 million times what the lowest paid person makes, we set ourselves up to have, a class of people that will rule the rest of the people because they have all the money.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's just, I don't know. I really I could really retire in London. This is 35 there. I'm telling you, it is. I'm just like,
we've talked a lot about could we move to another country, and I think the main thing that keeps us here is just extended family.
Yes, that's the same.
Right. That's the main thing because, I think America's great. I love living here.
Yes,
but I do think we miss some crucial things. And when I say we're teenagers, just like you, it's like I include myself in that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like I still look at my Toyota truck and I think I should get a new truck.
Right.
I should get a nicer truck.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And it's like this is a Toyota. It's gonna outlive you if you change the oil. You don't need another fucking car.
Yes.
And just those things. And it's like we have a nice little house in East Dallas.
I've seen it. It's black. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That other people would be like, oh, I hope I could buy a house someday. Right. And it's like, meanwhile, we're like, what are we going to do to get a bigger home?
Yes.
We need a bigger home for our things.
Yeah.
And we need to get more things to fill our bigger home.
Right.
And so we are definitely those same bratty teenage Americans.
Yeah.
And we just try to be more aware of it. But I do think that's what it is. It's like, I think those other countries, that's part of the reason, big talks right now are like giving up Second Amendment rights, right?
Yeah.
And, other people, when they talk about like protesting in other countries, it's like, they say like, well, they don't have freedom of speech, so they have to do it that way. Nah. And it's like, no, I think a lot of nations, a lot of other countries, because they've been around longer and they've gone through this process, I think they know it's like talking to an older person who's like, hey, kid, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
When that pass, we're going to do it this way, and that'll actually be a little bit better. You're just going to need to take a breath before we do this.
Right.
Where we're still just like, that made me mad. I need to immediately react.
Right.
And it needs to be loud and just everyone needs to take notice.
In the tube, which is, the subway, in the tube in London, over the intercom, the lady comes on and she says, there are pickpocketers in this station. Keep your items to yourself. They're not in denial. Right. They're just like going, we're going to call them out. We're going to say, there are pickpocketers in this station.
Yeah.
Hold your purse.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a simple way to do it.
Yeah. And
but we don't like the simple thing.
No. And it's like, nothing's perfect. There's not a single country I could go to right now where you'd be like, this is the promised land. Everything is perfect.
No, of course
not. But I do think as Americans, what I do like about America is I think we can make everything better. Yes. I think the way our system's set up, we can look at another country and go like, they're doing that? We could tweak that, and it could be even better. It's like.
But the only way that we're ever going to do that as a nation is if we stop thinking that we're the greatest nation on earth. Sure. Because that's a premise that's not. No, you can't back that up. You can't find a good punch for that. It's not even true.
Again, that's teenagers. It's like it's Friday night. It's It's Friday night. It's the football game. Your team fucking sucks. My team rules.
Yeah. Right. It's me. Look at me. I know. Yeah, and I know that we have to look foolish.
Yeah.
To everybody else, I know China's just going.
Well, that's what's so scary about China is it's like, look, they got plenty of problems.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not saying
Oh,
China's
yeah,
the
for
place
sure.
to be.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
But there's a lot of lessons you can learn from a civilization that's lasted that long.
Yes.
And no one's overtaking them. No one's even thinking about invading that country.
No.
Their economy is getting stronger, and it's like, yeah, a lot of the ways they're doing things are horribly unethical and immoral. Right. But there's some things you can learn. It's like, I don't like Donald Trump at all.
Right.
He's not for me.
Right.
I understand why people chose to vote for him.
Yeah.
Not my guy. But his first election, when he won, it's like, I don't believe there was any shenanigans. I think he won fair and square. Yeah. What I think he did was he went to these areas that felt like they were neglected, that typically went Democrat.
Yeah.
And he was like, they're not showing up for you. Here I am, hearing your problems.
The uneducated white folks. And that's what they call them.
But you can learn something. It's like, I don't like Donald Trump, but you can learn about, like, look, if you neglect the people that support you, this is what could happen.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, the thing is, when he beat Hillary, the problem was we needed change. We wanted change. And we were coming out on the back of having a half black, half white, biracial president. And there were people that were angry about that, okay? And because there's always people that are weird about things, right? So there's that. Okay, so, and we needed change. There was this backlash of redneckim, and then we needed change. Well, Hillary didn't represent change.
Right.
She represented the status quo. She represented the Clintons. And if Bernie had gotten through, Bernie probably would have beat Trump.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we'd have now, but Bernie would have beat Trump because Bernie represented change. Trump represented change. I knew going in that Trump was going to win. I knew, and I didn't understand why anybody else didn't know. But I lived in Rockwall, Texas. So
I thought it was pretty foolish until I saw, one of those debates, and you're like, ooh, this guy, he's beat the system. He knows I don't have to do this shit.
Right.
And, again, it's fascinating. It's like, I was big on Bernie, again, and I don't go into any politician thinking like he has got 100% of the answers,
right.
and I agree with 100% of what he says. But I do think, Hillary was the wrong choice. I think it's crazy that it had to come down to Bernie.
Yeah,
that's
a little much, but yeah,
there's so many good people.
Right.
But what he was saying about healthcare and about taking corporate interest and money out of politicians,
right?
Those are incredible things that both parties would benefit from,
right?
If
he could make it happen,
because
there's so much against it. That's the problem. Because
but
the
if he told me the only thing I will accomplish in 4 years is overturning Citizens United and making sure we get corporations out of the pockets of politicians.
Yeah.
That one thing, I'm not even going to look at infrastructure. I'm not going to do anything else. I would have been like, I'm on board.
Yeah, true.
I think his biggest...
Because they would have been two really big things.
Yeah, I think his biggest downfall was just phrasing. You live in a soundbite world, so he's got to say, we're going to give you free college. We're going to give you free health care.
Right.
And it's like when you listen to him in long interviews, which he did plenty of, but they don't make the news, right?
Right.
And you hear him go, what we're going to do is reallocate our taxes this way. And if we move our tax money from this to this, then we can actually afford to pay for our students to go to these schools.
Right.
And we can actually afford to get a single payer option in for people who need it.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's try that out. But when you hear free college,
yeah.
Then you get
those kind of sound bites are easy to attack.
Right. Then you get a boomer generation who's like, nothing's free.
Yeah,
and it's like,
mine wasn't free.
And it's like, you're correct. Nothing is free. And then, it's like I had some relatives who are like, well, if I need a knee replacement, in Canada, I might have to wait a year. And it's like, you haven't had insurance in 15 years.
Right.
You're not getting a knee replacement anytime soon. You're already
You're
waiting.
Never getting,
You're already waiting. And then if you do get it, you're going to be in debt the rest of your life because you don't have insurance.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. I think I might wait for a year and get it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's not perfect, but it seems reasonable.
Right.
And again, aren't we America? Can't we do it fucking better than Canada?
Yes.
Better than Europe? Like, let's see what works best in these other countries and make our own kick-ass version of amazing healthcare.
Exactly. But if you already think that you're the topmost popmost, if
Yeah.
you already think that you are the bomb diggity, you are it, then you can't learn.
No.
You can't grow. You can't change.
Yeah.
Because then that would be saying that you were wrong before.
Are you familiar with David Goggins? Have you heard of him? He's this, now he's just kind of like a fitness motivational guy, but he's got just this incredible backstory. And I've been listening to his audiobook that he put out, but he's been on like Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was a Navy SEAL, and he was like a big guy that got skinny, and he does these crazy endurance feats. You know, he runs like 240 miles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Things like that. But in his book, he was talking about, that's one of our biggest problems when we're young, or when we're, like if you're fat and you don't want to be fat, the first step is going like, hey, you're fat.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be this way anymore.
Right.
So we're going to change it.
Right.
Not going like, it'll be all right. Or like,
I'm not really fat. The charts are wrong.
Yeah. Or like
Yeah.
if somebody calls you stupid, he's like, did you look within and ask yourself, are you stupid?
Yeah.
He's like, it's not nice of them to say that. They shouldn't be saying that. But
Right.
you should also maybe think to yourself like, shit, I might be stupid.
Right.
I might need to become smarter and
Right.
read a book,
Right, right.
And then he was saying that the overall theme was just like, you're going to have to accept that you are going to be wrong, and you have to be able to easily just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. It's this.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that is just not the white male American way.
Right.
We're not going to admit we were wrong, because to admit we were wrong might mean we were wrong. And we're not going to do that. See, that's the problem. That is the problem. Change doesn't happen until you deal with the past. And the way to deal with the past is to say, I was wrong. I was wrong. Let's do something different.
I think it's getting there. It's just slow, like a good
Well,
example.
it's going to take a generation of death.
Yeah. Well, a good example was like Obama when he went to Japan on the anniversary of the atomic bombs.
Yep.
And, he's talking to the Japanese, is it president there, I think? I don't know, whatever.
think so.
Leader.
Yeah.
Anyway, and, he's giving a speech, and they're at the memorial site or whatever. And he's like just saying something that's a very measured statement about how like this is, an atrocious moment in history. And we hope, we can learn from these lessons so that we never do this again. And,
Right.
and people were like, how dare he say, that we didn't have the right to do it. And it's like, look, man, thousands of people instantly died. That's
Yeah.
never a good thing.
Right.
Never a good thing.
Right.
And I think it's pretty mature to be like, the people before us couldn't find a resolution. Let's hope we can always be
Find a
civil
resolution,
and
yeah.
find a resolution,
Right.
so that civilians don't have to die,
Exactly.
right? But American pride is so strong that they're just like, how dare he say that?
Yeah, it's insane because the American thing gets in the way. It gets in the way. I mean, you've got Bible believing Christian people who are pro-life Christian people voting for Donald Trump, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That American that Christian nationalism thing, that just American nationalism. There are things that people will turn from everything that they stood for, and for the American deal. And it's like, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm always so shocked about that, because I'm like, I have friends
have you
that say,
ever
because I'm a Christian,
Yeah.
I'm voting for Donald Trump. And I said, well, because I'm a Christian, I'm not. I don't know what you're doing.
I had a relative that brought up something similar. They were like, isn't it weird how right now if you fly an American flag, people are kind of like, oh, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Or you're right. Like
Trumpy.
there's a thing with it now, and there shouldn't be, right?
Right.
You should be able to be American and think lots of different things, but
Right.
that one small group is so abrasive.
Yes.
And, there was this great...
Well, and they used the flag at every turn on all their crap and all their shit in January 6th, and so
Yeah.
it became a symbol. It's just like the cross became a symbol for them. All Christians are not wackadoodles,
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, they're not. I mean, I am a pro-choice Christian, not a wackadoodle. You know what I mean? I appreciate the fact of being woke. I'd rather be woke than asleep. Hello, I'm fine. I'm fine. My friends are like, oh, she's woke. I'm like, and you're asleep. Just nighty-night.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that idea that is what, I mean, the idea that the KKK or the people like that, these vigilantes and these mountain men and all this military, that these are the Americans now.
Right.
I'm like, there's a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, and just like there's lots of different beliefs and faiths and things, and it's a shame that it gets used in one way.
Yeah, it's like, we call it the melting pot, remember?
Yes.
That's what it, come on.
Yes.
And it's like, and it definitely feels like, post 9/11, a lot of that changed. And again, like, I think it's wrong, but I understand how a lot of people got there.
Yeah.
But before that, it's like there was a lot of strength in the diversity, right?
Right.
Without it being like, look at our strength and diversity here at McDonald's with our brand new diversity meal. Without that bullshit.
Yeah. Without the propaganda.
Yeah. And it's like, I get why.
Actual diversity.
Yeah, where it was just like, no, we need this person because they're smarter at this thing.
Yeah.
And it seemed like we were going, and then boom, we just got knocked down, because it's so easy to, before you know it, it's like 9/11, and then we got Toby Keith putting a boot in your ass and all this. And it's like, guys, pump the brakes. We went to the wrong country.
Right.
But anyway,
well, but see, that's the thing. I mean, things work for me. Okay, so I started elementary school, first grade, in 1971. In 1971 in Tyler, Texas, that was the first year they integrated.
Okay.
Okay, and so I was.
Was this busing or?
Yes.
Okay.
They were busing black kids from their neighborhoods into ours, but the really smart thing, one of the really smart things that they did was they also we had black teachers, and so for the first time in my life, I had to address and have conversation with a black adult, and they were owed my respect, and they were the authority over me. So it set it up in a really and white teachers went to the black schools and black, and it was and so it was all a terrible time, and it was all very hard, but the things that I learned from that time, and the things that and so it seemed like, I mean, I just went to my 40th high school class reunion. John Tyler Lions. Actually, it's Tyler High now. But anyway, John Tyler Lions, yes. Go Big Blue. And we were talking about how we were the first class to graduate that had gone all 12 years integrated.
Oh, wow.
And we were in a time that integration worked because it was working in the 70s. It was working, and it was working. It was working just the way it was working after slavery and during Reconstruction. And then people got scared, and they pulled it back. And when I say people, I mean white people. White people got scared, and they pulled back.
Would that have been like late 70s, 80s, or?
Well, that would have been the late 70s, 80s. It was the Reagan years.
Yeah.
I mean, Reagan got in, and then everybody just freaked out.
Yeah.
And it was like, because when things are going too good, people get scared.
Well, somebody might take it from you.
Yes, they might ruin it. It, And so there was, so much.
And really, no one's trying to take anything from you. Everyone's just trying to also enjoy stuff.
Yes. No one is. Someone else winning does not make you lose.
Right.
It is not a zero-sum game. It never, ever is. I mean, that's not even a thing, And our idea that someone else's success, messes with mine. It's like, we've always had the saying, nobody can take from me what God has for me. And that's very Christianese. But it's like, what if it's mine? I mean, you can't do this. You can do that.
Right.
And do that really well. But you can't do this. Only I can do this.
Yep.
And so it's like this idea of losing. And so many people in my age group that I grew up with some and deal with some and all the things. I mean, they're just afraid. They're afraid. They're afraid of losing, and they're afraid of losing and not having enough time to gain again. And so there's a real fear in aging.
I do get some of that fear too, though, when you're, your generation would have been heavily affected by 2008.
Yes.
Right? Financially,
yes.
You're getting scared about like, holy shit.
Yes.
We might have to work so much longer than we thought we would.
Yes.
And that's part of what builds a lot of that distrust too. And it's like, that's part of where, as a country, we got to get some of these companies and some of these politicians in line.
Yeah.
Because that was something that was so avoidable.
Right.
But all the greed let it happen, right? And then your average American is the one that suffers, right? And
well, the problem is, like I said earlier, we didn't create a floor.
Right.
We got rid of the ceiling and we didn't create a floor. And so there is a great possibility that you will just seep through the cracks and you will not be able to survive, or you will have to depend on your kids. And nobody wants to have to do that. You know what I mean? And I mean, because it's just, not in American white society. I know my Vietnamese friends, they're wonderful to their elders, and it's a very close-knit deal. And
well, we're already talking about in our family about how we'll probably have to, we're kicking around ideas of like, do we save money to build like an ensuite or something? because nobody wants to send anyone into a home, right?
No.
Or do we?
I mean, my kids do, but that's fine for you. That's fine.
Or do we
They're
maybe
good.
we've even kicked around the idea of do we sell our home at some point and maybe buy a small multifamily property where the family just lives on that property,
Right?
Because ultimately it'd be financially easier, but it'd be socially more inconvenient, right?
Right.
But
My husband and I
we all have divorced parents, so there's no way we can afford to take care of all of them.
Yeah. Someone's going to split them up.
Yeah, and so it's the thought, if we do have to send you to homes, they won't be nice ones because we won't have the funds.
Right.
And we even had to have a talk with my wife had to have a talk with some of her relatives about hey, some of your assets, maybe don't give those up. We don't need them. We don't want them. We're not talking about a will, but you might need these assets.
Yes.
Because we may not be financially able to take care of you, period.
Right.
And so it's more of just looking out for yourself because, and you hate to think that way, but it's man, it might be better to just move in than to deal with that.
Right. We had the big house over in East Dallas, and we sold a year ago and bought a loft in downtown, and so we downsized, made a year's salary, downsized, went down, lots of thousands of dollars in what we owe, and we did it because people say, why did you do that? I'm like, well, because our kids would eventually do it to us. We decided to make our own choice. We want to choose the building that we want to be in, and and it's secure, and it's all the things they can't possibly, with our 1,500 square feet on the 4th floor, they can't say you can't take care of that.
Right.
You're too old to take care of that. I got a doorman. Okay, I'm fine. I got an elevator. I'm good. You know what I mean? I got a pool on the roof. I'm good. I'm fine. You can't take that. And so we are trying to make decisions. And we're playing catch up. I mean, we've got to work hard and heavy for the next 10 or 15 years. And if this thing would just turn into something that I could pay off the mortgage, that'd be great. But we had some catching up to do when we lost everything in 2008. But I think it does lend to being afraid, and I think that My son has property. I mean, he has rental property. If it push comes to shove, we'll rent from him. I mean, those are things that you look at. But I think that ultimately, fear makes people do mean things and act mean. And so when people are scared, and a lot of people my age are kind of scared about what's going to happen, But I'm glad that people your age are kind of looking at it. I mean, my son says we could put a tiny house out back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, I'm small. That'll work. That'll work. Just,
Well,
don't let the kids come around when I'm smoking my pipe on the front porch, okay?
Well, we've talked to some of our relatives about, when that time comes. We've even tried to tell a couple of them, it's look, the home you have now, why don't you just sell that?
Yeah.
And we could take that and either do an addition or build something, or we could buy a whole new house together.
Right.
And
all of those are great plans, but it takes away the independence.
That's what it is I think it's that hurdle of well, this is my house.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
it's the hurdle of, is that where we've come to?
Sure.
Kind of it's like, oh, so my whole life was spent to live with, what's your wife's name?
Oh, Paige.
To live with Travis and Paige. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole, not that you're not wonderful people, but it's we have this very sense of independence. We all have our own cars.
Yeah.
And especially in Texas.
America.
America. I mean, especially in Texas, and we can't even fathom here not being in New York and not having a car.
Yeah.
That's the thing, I told a joke in London that really went over well there that I could not ever tell it here. Well, because it got worse, and I won't tell you the worst part. But anyway, I said the reason that we don't have underground transportation in Texas is because everyone has to stay above ground for target practice. And then I mentioned my grandkids in public school. But anyway, but they love dark things over there. But
yeah.
But it's,
they've lived through a couple wars and been bombed.
We suck in coal all day long here. It's fine. We're fine. We're fine. But cool thing I got to do when we were there, we got to see part of the farewell tour of Elton John.
Oh, that had to be incredible.
At the O2, and it was we were 40th row on the floor. I mean, we actually saw him, and I was like, that is like a very big memory.
He's one of the few musicians, if I went to a show, I would be very starstruck.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm watching Elton John.
Yeah.
Just the talent. And he's been so talented for so long.
Yeah. We saw him like 25 years ago at Starplex.
Isn't he one of those ones, he's done like 3 farewell tours, right?
No.
Is
actually,
that
this is
just
his,
the Rolling Stones?
This is, that's Cher and Kiss and the Stones. And
so he's only ever done this one.
This is it. Well, see, he planned it in 2020, and then it got canceled. And so it was supposed to happen 3 years ago, and so it's just now happening. I think he just closed in Stockholm. He's done.
Wow!
But he has like kids that are like in their like junior high years, and he wants to spend time with them.
Yeah.
You know, and he's 75.
Wow!
So we saw him when he was 50, when he had just gotten sober, and so that was a really great show as well.
My mom had a little small vinyl collection when I was really young, and that was one of the records she had was an Elton John record. And it's the one where he's wearing like a white hat, big white glasses, sitting next to a piano. I can't remember which album
Yellow
it
Brick
is.
Road.
Okay, yeah. And, I mean, he's one of those, like my wife and I were listening to him in the car, you know, like maybe even like a year ago, I don't know, just going through his catalog. And it's like, fuck, he did write that. He wrote that.
Yeah, he wrote
I
that.
forgot he had.
And I know every word to that.
Like,
and
he can get up there and play for 3 hours, and it's just the hits.
Yes.
Just
yes.
the hits.
He didn't have an opener or anything. I mean, he played for 2.5 hours. It was amazing. But either we're going to have to cut and let me pee.
Oh. Well, we've been going a while. Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. But no,
big head, small bladder.
I understand. I turned into a jug guy recently. The big water jug.
Oh yeah.
So I'm about there too.
Yeah, I'm drinking out of glass to avoid plastic, but yeah,
I hear
same
you.
thing.
No, listen, I had a blast talking to you. I've enjoyed your comedy for apparently years now, and
I know,
there was just
crazy.
a big gap there. But and I feel like we just scratched the surface of getting to know you, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for people to follow you so they can come watch you?
Okay, I'm on Facebook. I'm Angela Owen. Instagram and YouTube, I'm Angela Owen Comedy. I'm opening for Mitch Fattel on the 28th and the 29th of July at Dallas Comedy Club. And I'm headlining at the Comedy Arena on August 11th and 12th.
Ooh, that'll be good.
So, and then I'm having knee surgery, so we're doing that.
We're trying to get tickets for the knee surgery.
Yeah.
We're trying to get those out there.
Everyone wants to know me on anesthesia. It'll be so much fun. I won't be woke then. And then every Friday night at the State Fair of Texas with Deep Fried Comedy.
When's the State Fair come around this year? I can never remember.
The State Fair opens it's the last Friday in September.
Okay.
So whatever that is, the 27th, 28th, 29th, whatever it is, the last Friday they open, and they go until the third Sunday in October.
And all those comics you listed, the ones I haven't watched have all been vouched for by the comics I have watched, and they're all super funny people.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate that it's attractive enough to bring really great talent out. I mean, it's and it's been Christianese. It's been a blessing from the very beginning, but it is. I mean, it's really it was an amazing opportunity, and it got me to know a lot of. The first year I had 27 comics.
Wow.
Which was a really bad idea. And the next year I had 14, which was better. And now I had 5. And now I'm going up to 10. But it taught me so much. And it got me to know so many comics on the scene early on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be there this year.
Okay, good deal. I appreciate it.
And one more shout out to your friend's wine.
Oh, my friend's wine.
It was very good.
Yes, thank you very much. Smiling Snake Wine. She'll be planting her first grapes in April. So Smiling Snake. She's amazing. This wine is good. So,
Well, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.